to call this episode because it's not a rundown, but welcome to a conversation that I'm having with a couple of people. Obviously, since you're on this YouTube page, you know this is the Comic Den, and I'm with David Fleming and Chris Rau.
Hello.
Say hi.
No, I'm good.
All right. So we had this idea last night that we were going to start, and then we were just going to stare awkwardly at you until you started leading the conversation.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, so bipartisan reform in the Middle East right now is...
Yeah, there you go. I was thinking about kind of how we wanted to format this. Did you guys do your readings?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, go ahead.
You start.
Okay, so I just really thought that his character development really lacked in terms of the, I don't know what you're doing to me here.
I mean, I didn't like how... No, I'm just kidding. So, actually how I wanted to format this is we each have projects that are going on currently. Chris probably the most busy of all of us because I think it's some sort of mental disorder.
Yeah.
Is what the doctor said.
That's correct.
But yeah, so I just figured we'd take some time to bullshit about things we've done, things we're doing, and things we want to go for in the future.
Wait, you do stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here and I'm recording you guys. For once, you guys are aware of the recordings, though.
That's right.
So that's the main difference here. But, all right, so Chris, we just had a big thing for you last night, and what was that all about?
Yeah, so if my voice seems scraggly, that's because I was drinking a lot last night.
Mm-hmm.
We had a release party for my first book, Magnus, which went really well. It was at Crane Brewery in Raytown. And the reason we did it at Crane is because me and Fleming both work at Raytown High School, and it's just right down the street. It's almost like our staff bar if we were to have one. So anyway, we went there after school yesterday, and from about 2 to 9, I just sat up in the corner with my books out and some art and stuff, and people came by and, got them signed and bought some. It went really well. Also, at the same time, my Rick and Morty cover, which is the first one I'd ever done, was delivered, so I got to show those off to the public as well. So it was pretty cool. And yeah, I just woke up, so here we are.
All right. What do you have coming down the pipe?
So immediately we have a book that me and a friend of mine wrote. It's called I Had a Nightmare. It's going to be a small collection of short stories. We're going to try to get it out by this Halloween, which if you're listening to this is, I don't know when you're going to have this done, but it's going to be in the next few weeks. The Kickstarter is going to go live next week sometime, probably like early September 2nd, 3rd, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then, so what it is it's a collection of like journal entries from a friend of mine who suffers from sleep paralysis. He tells these really haunting stories, and then I collected them. I think there's 7 or 8 in the story or in the collection, and I illustrated them with like creepy images, kind of like the scary stories to tell in the dark books from the 80s and 90s that people might be familiar with.
I never read those books, but now.
Yeah, I think it might have missed your generation slightly. I think that because I realized the copyright reader when we were looking at it, it was like 1981, but we all got them in like the 90s. I feel like they're some of the best-selling books of all time. Everyone has them.
My grow-up scary book was Goosebumps.
So this was sort of like before that, but it's like the same idea. And this is more like scary, like little short stories, like 2 paragraphs here, or 2 pages here.
Oh, so like really short stories.
Some of them are really short, some of them
like those. You got a kick out of those 2-sentence scary stories that I sent you.
Yeah, that was very awkward. Well, it was just the first one. Everything else was just well written. There was one story that really jarred me.
The one with the kid under the bed?
Yes. That was terrifying.
For those of you who don't know, there are these things you can find you can find them anywhere, but they started on Reddit, and they're just 2-sentence scary stories. And the first one was, I'm tucking my kid in, and he asked me to check for monsters under the bed, so I humored him, and as I looked under, I see my son, and he says, "Dad, there's something in my bed."
Right.
And Chris
you butchered it, but yeah, the general gist.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. So now I'm not scared of it anymore because you ruined it so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Imagery destroyed.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Sorry.
So then,
I can't do it verbatim or else I'll get hit with copyright.
That's right,
And
right.
they'll flag
Whoever
my
that
page.
random red.
all the millions of listeners.
They'll flag my page. It'll get shut down.
So after that, down the pipe for the rest of the year here, I'm going to do, me and Ace are going to do a very quick sort of like half sequel to Magnus. We're going to do a free web comic of like Magnus 1.5. He's drawn it all out, and he is being Ace. His thumbnail sketched and kind of wrote all the bubbles and everything. It's going to be a quick, sort of fun, humorous, violent, action-packed transition from Volume 1 to Volume 2. Magnus Volume 2 I'll be working on next, probably like January, February, something like that.
All right.
And I'm also going to squeeze in some Chiefs posters as well. Some big, like Patrick Mahomes, and you guys don't even know what football is, so never mind. There'll be some good Chiefs ones.
I watch football. Don't let me.
I watched the entire game of football last night.
Yeah, weren't you making fun of sports last night at the sports bar?
Yeah.
Was I making fun of sports? Oh no, I said I don't want to get super drunk and then play sports.
No, you said, "Oh, I'm glad we came to a place that's super loud with sports."
I didn't say that.
It was something like that.
No, I saw those
Just
dudes.
didn't want to throw out his ball throwing arm, right, bro?
I saw those guys playing pickleball. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do whenever I get really drunk.
Oh,
is
I took
go
that to
play
mean
sports.
I thought you were saying that there were sports on television and it made you uncomfortable.
Because going and playing pickleball while you're drunk is exactly what you want to do.
That's right. I broke my ankle doing that once.
There's no way that I want to do that. I mean, I'm down for like horseshoes and cornhole and like washers, like bar outdoor.
But not
games
like sweating and cutting with your.
I don't want to just shotgun a beer and then run around on a mini tennis court.
It lets you shotgun more beers.
That's right.
You're burning it off.
That's right. You
See, then that's not. There's no point to that. We don't want to burn it off. We want it to linger.
My friend Sam last night, towards the end of the night, was like, you want to wake up at 6 a.m.? Were you there?
Yeah,
when
I
he
was
said
there when he said
that? So you want to come at 6 a.m.? Let's come back and play pickleball. I was like, I'm in. Let's go. And I called his bluff, and he was like, never mind. Then I told him I was going to text him at 5:30 and wake him up to go. He's like, if you do that, I'll go. And then I woke up at 7:30. So
Jeez, you guys slept in.
slept in till 7:30. So
You
that's
said
what's going on with me.
Said you were going to sleep until 7:30.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Look at that.
With kids, you find your schedules.
They're still asleep, of course,
Oh,
of
so
all the
you-
days.
I figued your kids wake you up early.
They usually wake up at about 6, and now it's almost 8, and they're still sleeping.
Is that because you got them drunk last night?
Easy.
He's not saying no.
I didn't. I definitely didn't. They might have gotten some fumes. They were at the release party at the brewery.
Can't believe your kids wake up at 6.
Yeah.
Now,
Your
how-
kids wake up.
8,
That place
9,
was-
sometimes 10.
It's ridiculous.
That place that we went, Crane Brewing, was a really cool little hole.
It is super cool. There's not a ton going on down in Raytown, unfortunately, but Crane is a super highlight. Like it's tucked away, but once you get in,
Yeah.
they make really cool beer, and it's a really nice place.
We also weren't positive that we weren't going to get murdered because it's
Tucked away in a dark alley.
it's in a ditch in like an industrial park.
We made it out. We're
Yeah.
okay.
It's the last building.
Yeah, you just keep going. Yeah, everybody's like, I kept going. I just trusted my GPS. I assumed it was back here.
We hit the giant like mess of cars that were all there. And we're like, this has to be it. And then,
Oh yeah.
And then you see the garage doors that have the crane in there. But yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Well, I'm glad you came. It was super fun.
Yeah.
So next up, we're gonna do that for Fleming
Yeah.
when he has his release party.
Fleming's, when's that going to happen?
I was going for 2037.
37, okay.
This is an intervention. He's talked about this to get you going.
Fleming, we both care for you, and we want.
This is getting weird.
That's how interventions start. You guys never seen an intervention?
Oh, is that what I was like?
Yeah. We both
Start crying. We have you just sobbing at the end of this. I'll do my art now.
You can make the choice: finish it now, or you're not going to be able to stay here anymore.
That's right. Fleming has a very unique, super cool style, and he's making a book that he's going to talk about in a second. But
Yeah.
he needs a little push to get it going.
On our first episode, you talked about Apollo, and
I did.
how much progress have you made on that?
I have made a cover,
Uh huh.
a first panel, and a second panel. By that I mean like page, like.
Oh, you made a whole page.
Yeah, full first page and like getting into like the second.
Did you ink the first page?
I haven't inked it yet. No. So actually, that's a part of the project right now. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole next month to pencil it, and I'm going to use Inktober to like ink it out and kind of like release a lot of the panels without the words, sort of like as like a cool like story.
So you've like storyboarded everything.
You know
what direction you're going.
This last month that I did my like before I got this sickness that I'm still trying to get over. That's what I was doing. I was like storyboarding and scripting and like rearranging words and figuring out the flow of it and stuff. Like I'm ready to just sit down and draw. I need the time.
Okay.
I have a fundraiser like art show thing this next Saturday that I have to make a piece for. I'm supposed to make like a silent auction, like original piece that's gonna get sold. So that's like all my time has been into that because after I got sick and I lost my track of all my flow and stuff, all I've been able to do is just been like trying to focus on this other thing that I need to get done.
Yeah, I do that.
Is that what you're doing all those drawings for right now?
Yeah. I'm doing all these Justice League drawings and I'm gonna like smash them together into like a big like collage piece. I'm
just gonna overlay them all on top of each other.
Yeah.
So it's
multiply, just infinite multiply of the layer, and you figure out what you're looking at.
Right. It's very abstract.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
you're just gonna make one poster and then just print like 100 and just.
No, I'm just gonna print one, like a one of a kind. I'm just gonna do like a weird gray tone thing with it.
Oh.
And it's gonna go in a frame, and it's gonna be like a.
Oh, you're like charity. Oh,
it's like a charity auction piece. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I'm gonna do a color version of it, like a con exclusive color version of it afterwards.
That'll be nice.
But I'm gonna do like a cool like gray tone thing as like the charity piece.
So you're gonna have in March we have Planet coming up. Is Kansas City ComicCon dead?
Yeah, I think they're
Dead is not the word that I heard.
I think they say hiatus.
That from the word that we heard was more of on a long break to restructure.
What they really need to do, well, I think that they should probably, we all agree, they doing like the 3-day thing at Bartle Hall, like trying to be Planet Comic-Con just didn't work because it felt empty. So if they would just do like a Saturday, Sunday, find a smaller space, they could pack it and it would be super fun. And it could be like art heavy.
Well, and that was the thing too, is they had, as far as celebrities go, they didn't have a whole lot.
No.
But as far as what I go for, which is artists and comic book creators, they had some big names.
Well, that's always been their thing, is the art side. So they're, I don't know, maybe not equal to Planet, but like they're certainly up there.
Yeah.
And they have unique, interesting stuff there too.
They do.
Well, they did, I guess. That sucks. I hope they come back.
The space they were in was way too large for the event that they were.
It minimized their like.
Yeah.
Well, and that was one complaint that I had about Planet was that there's a lot, and I see this across a lot of different cons because you have companies that'll have put on a Comic-Con in 20 different cities, like Wizards or something like And, Fan Expo is another big one that has like 20 different cons they put on. And they really are pushing the celebrity guests.
Yeah.
And I get that brings in a lot of people, but for me, if you focus too much on the celebrity aspect and not as much on who you're letting in for the art or who you're letting in for like the comic creators, then I think you lose a little bit too.
Yeah, I agree. Although at KC they did have that amateur wrestling. That was awesome.
That was hilarious.
That was a very good use of this extra space.
Yeah.
Although from all the things that I hear from friends of mine is if you have the amateur wrestler, it's like the sign of like
being white trash.
Yeah, or just like this is the small. Welcome to SmallCon. Like,
hey, embrace it. You can either say no, that's not us, or you can just steer into the skid and be like, hell yeah, we got wrestling here.
We do. And outside we'll have catch a pig, mud wrestling.
When your big media guest is like Sting or like it's like some.
That's what it was. Or no, it was the Black Power Ranger.
That's what it was.
Remember he came up and talked to me for like a long time. I was like, hey man, cool. I'm a kind of a fan. But he was like, hey, this is really cool. And then I was like, do you want some free stuff? I'll give it to you. He's like, nah, I'm good. He just like walked away.
He wouldn't even take your free
He just looked
offer.
dejected. He was just bored.
How great is that?
He was really nice. He was talking about.
It's not even that you're like, hey, I'll give you a discount. Yeah. He's like, no, man, my wallet's back. Do you want free stuff? He's like, then I gotta carry it.
Yeah, that's right. He just like hunched his shoulders and walked back. It was like when the hall was like completely empty on like it was like Sunday morning and it's at like 1 o'clock or like at 11 and there's like, there should have been a ton of people there.
Yeah. which was the feeling. Basically, you got Friday and you got Sunday, and it was like those two crowds need to just be on one day.
And Saturday felt like playing at ComicCon.
Yeah.
And everything else was like nothing.
Just like, where am I at right now?
But that was...
Yeah, because that is an enormous building.
Oh yeah.
When they open it all the way.
And for it to be empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Planet just started opening it all the way this
All the
last
way
time.
up, yeah.
And it felt a little... It's going to fill up all the way to where it's like gigantic. I think this next one's going to be even bigger without Casey, huh?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they get over 100,000 people.
Wow, I thought they got over 100,000 last time.
Oh, did they?
I mean, they
For some
sold
reason I thought it
out-
was like 75-ish, but either way, it's a
Yeah, I mean, it
shitload.
had to have been close just to see
Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
How weird is that? Like, he's like an A- level celebrity. Imagine if they got... Do you ever see those things on like Instagram? It's like at the Rhode Island Con, and then it's like Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, like all these massive stars, and I'm like, holy crap.
Well, the thing with Momoa is, I think he's kind of got the cult following.
Yeah.
Because he's been in... Like, he's in everything.
Yeah.
Have you looked at anything on Netflix? Just type in Jason Momoa, and he's got like 20
Tons of
million
things.
things on Netflix that nobody's ever heard of.
What is that one you were talking about last night? Alaskan. It's like a single word. It's like
Yeah,
It's like
I-
savage. Or, it's not
I
that.
can't think of what the name of it is, but he's half Irish, half Native American.
All badass.
And he just walks around.
That's the tagline.
He just walks around with like 2 hatchets, like killing people.
Yeah.
He's a fur trader, or he goes and kills the animals, sells the skins to the French or something like that, and it's all about that whole cartel like collapsing and trying to figure out who has power.
Yeah.
It's like drug dealers before drugs were around.
I've been wanting to watch it. Ed, I think it's Ed. Not Ed. It was Brett Fairchild did like a pointillism thing of that.
Yeah.
He had like the.
Oh yeah.
God, now I can't think of it.
Oh well, whatever.
It's gonna
If
be-
you haven't heard of him, Jason Momoa is the star. You should go check him out.
So if he ever listens to this,
I mean, plus he's so hot right now, so you have
Yeah.
that on top of it.
I mean, Aquaman. He's bringing Aquaman back.
That trailer actually looked cool. Did you? We never talked about that.
We haven't,
Have you seen it?
I have not. I just literally last night someone mentioned it to me, and I was
It's
like,
got those little. I don't even know the characters. Those little retro robot-y head thing. What's that guy's name? Black Manta,
Yeah,
something like that.
Black Mantis.
They show him in it. Like it looks real.
Yeah, and they made him. That was one aspect. I was like, this is gonna be really hard to pull off because that helmet always looks so
Like,
dumb.
so silly.
Because it's so much
Yeah.
bigger
Yeah.
than what it
Yeah.
needs to be.
It worked though. Like,
Yeah.
They didn't go. It's like colorful and lively and very
Interesting.
They just went whole hog on
That
the
like
underwater
that
thing.
whole like these comic book things don't ever really translate well to real life thing.
Yeah.
We were like just joking about the other day. Like my in-laws are watching Smallville.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, do you guys ever watch Smallville on Amazon?
No.
Like when the Justice League starts to show up and stuff. Oh my god, it's so cheesy. It's so bad. It's like superhero costumes have taken a very long time to look good on screen. Like they've tried it so many times, and it's always like.
Is that like?
Well, I think for the longest time, people were thinking if we're gonna make a comic book movie, it has to look exactly like the comic book.
yeah.
Whereas now they're like, no, we definitely need to like upgrade it so it looks
Yeah.
like what it would really look like in
In real life, yeah. I just remember so many things in like early 2000s that were like films people don't even know came out because like when you look at it, you're like, oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Like that the Inhumans that just came out.
That was
That thing
Doom
flopped.
from the
Because
start.
it literally looks like one of
looked
those
so
films
stupid.
made in the 2000s. Like it's so bad. Like,
That was
you know,
going to be that was going to be a major.
It was
like,
supposed to be
tentpole
a
movie,
film.
and then they were like,
Yeah.
They were gonna release it in IMAX. It was gonna be.
They did do that. They
They were
released the
gonna
first couple
release
episodes.
the first 2 episodes.
But it was supposed to be a part of their.
It was going to be part of the Marvel Cinematic
Like when the
Universe.
Marvel Cinematic Universe first announced their like
Yeah.
flow, like 2019 was supposed to be Inhumans.
Yeah.
Well, and see, I hate Agents of Shield for what they did to
I've
the
never
Inhumans.
even watched it.
Yeah.
They completely screwed up Inhumans.
Well, aren't they like not even from the moon anymore? Like they're just.
Well, okay, so you have cosmic Inhumans and then you have like regular Inhumans, and they're both part of the same thing. But the cosmic Inhumans were part of this genetic experiment, but they stayed out in space. But then these aliens came down to Earth and genetically modified a bunch of humans to have like these dormant genes. And then whenever they're introduced to the Terrigen Mist, it changes them. And then in the comics, what happens is they have this city that's floating above New York, and a bunch of shit goes down. Black Bolt has to explode the city, and so he detonates this Terrigen bomb. So there's this giant cloud that's just going around the entire planet, turning all these people into Inhumans. So there's just this huge explosion of Inhumans coming out. But if you're just a normal dude, then the cloud blows by you and you're like, oh, that smelled funny or something. I mean, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
So in the show, what they did was, if you're not Inhuman and you get introduced to Terrigen Mist, it like turns you into stone or ash or something. It kills you. And then I'm like, you can't have this massive explosion of your characters that you're supposed to have. Like, it doesn't make sense how people are going to spontaneously become Inhuman without also committing genocide to an entire country.
I can't believe you watched the show.
I did for a while until they introduced Inhumans.
Well, I mean, I've heard from a lot of people.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Inhumans show. I thought this was the
I never
beginning
watched
of
that
the
shit.
Inhumans
I
show.
knew that was going to be.
Okay. You're
They
just talking about
took
his-
one of the coolest characters. Like Black Bolt is one of the like in my mind, like I'm gonna get nerdy, like top tier, right? He's like top tier character.
I don't even know him,
And
but
he
all the
looks
comic book people love him.
So dumb.
Yeah. Well, and I was pissed because they got the guy from Hell on Wheels to do it, and I was like, hell yeah, guy's a great actor. And then it was just terrible. I think they also made Medusa's hair look stupid.
Yeah, and she is also like a super cool.
I mean it looks like they spray painted it orange. It's just like really rough.
Like a bad wig.
It looks like a hair helmet.
Yeah.
And then they spray painted it orange. I'm like, okay. I think you could get better function out of CGI.
Yeah.
Put your budget there instead of making a giant CGI lockjaw.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But,
which is another character too that like you can't mess up Lockjaw.
Right. But you could have done it better.
Yeah.
It was just very disappointing how that whole thing turned out. Because that would have also set up now that Fox has been sold to Disney.
That could have been the
Disney
connector.
now has the X-Men once this deal finally goes through.
It went through.
And then, so when mutants get introduced to the Terrigen Mist, they die, which started a whole war between the Inhumans and the mutants, which that'd be an easy way to bring them both out. And I think I don't know.
I wonder what they're
I
going to
was
do.
super excited whenever they were like, Inhumans are coming, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I'm like, shit. Garbage. All right, so Fleming, you said you got a cover done in 2 pages.
That's pretty much where I'm at. Yeah.
And your storyline's done. How long is it going to be? How long's your story going to be?
24 pages for the first like arc, basically.
It's going to be a traditional comic book?
I guess I'm calling it arc because the way I'm writing it is it's going to be a 3-part. The first like series is called Analog Missions. It's a 3-parter, and they all actually can exist on their own, but they all build up to a bigger idea. So like when you read each of my books, and this is like a big thing that I've like as I write, the more I write, the more I like examine comic books that I love. I don't want to like I'll leave you probably on something you're like, oh, I wonder what'll happen next, but I won't like leave you feeling like that the issue itself isn't like wrapped up. Like each of it individual story like has its own like has this message to tell you, and this one has this message to tell you, and this one has this message to tell you. But it's all kind of like fun backstory to like a bigger idea.
So I mean, your message is going to be like friendship and unity.
Yeah. And then like how many beers can you shotgun?
I mean, you're taking like preschool principles that they try to instill in children. You're just putting it into
into robots.
Violent drunk robots.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's pretty much what comics are, though.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that's just I just like I think of all the good comics I read, and it's like when you wrap up every arc, you're like, like that felt good. I mean, cool when the next one comes out, it's gonna be awesome. But like that feeling of like, cool, 37 more comics down, and then I'll be happy.
Right.
Like I hate that
satisfaction.
feeling. I hate like man, this is a really epic story. I can't wait to read all 57 issues of it. It's like I want at the end of every good like wrap up, you're like, but the things that we felt in this thing all came to an end, and then they built on another thing in this.
That's
one,
right.
So.
That's what I liked about. That's kind of what we were talking about with Thor last night, the Jason Aaron one. Like, I was fine as soon as the God Butcher story was over. I was cool. But I know you love everything, but like I'm saying, I could take that chunk, read it, and then I could move on with my life.
Yeah.
It's almost like having like an individual book or something.
Yeah, and I was explaining this to somebody else too, because I had posted something on Instagram, and they were like, "Oh, I really love the God Butcher one, but I fell off up here, and I didn't read this one." And I said, "Well, everything, it's got something for everyone. You can either follow the entire story arc. I think I was talking to Green about it whenever he was doing his live stream. Because he was asked,
Yeah,
he asked what he did. He asked if they ever explained why he became unworthy. And I said, yeah. And he goes, isn't some big epic reveal? And I was like, well, if you stuck around from the first and you read everything and you're
like from original sin,
yeah,
happens.
you're dedicated to the Thor storyline and you've stuck with it and you appreciate it, then it's going to be an epic reveal. If you're just somebody who's hopping in to see what happened, then it's going to be like, well, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's really interesting how Jason Aaron does that. He goes, listen, I'm going to drop a bunch of little things here, and whoever wants to pick them up and enjoy them can. If you don't, then you just go about reading your stuff.
Well, that's hopefully the way yours will work. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with Magnus also. The original thought of the ending was like him looking off into the, horizon after he'd fought some monsters and still had no conclusion. Mm-hmm. Like, tune in next time. And then my friend Sam, who wrote the book, was like, no, we can't do that. Because you never know, maybe you'll never write it again. You want to at least have a completed story.
That's right. I mean, I plan to finish my series, but like that's the idea. Like,
but each time you could stop.
Yeah, like this feels good. Like thanks for like, I don't know. There's that like obviously I want someone to come back and be like, when's the next one coming out? Like that's like I mean I last year I wrote That Boy on a Bike. I wrote some of those web comics and stuff, and I've had people come back and be like, I love that little short. Like give me more, just anything. And I'm like, that's cool, but it's like. But you're satisfied. Like, you're satisfied with how you felt with that story, and you don't need another Boy and a Bike. You just want another story.
Right.
And that's, like, kind of satisfying. Like, you just want more stories from me. It's not necessarily that this epic just needs to keep happening kind of thing.
That just made me think of something. Your self-destruction comic, they're super cool. You should weave that into the Apollo universe. Like, that could be, like, some sort of prequel sort of thing.
Actually, that idea...
The reason for the planet cracking or something.
Well, so that idea, though, of, like... robots and sci-fi and all the other stuff is just like my vessel of like to tell this other idea that I want kind of thing. So I have had this idea of like writing fun little like not like kind of like the 1.5 Magnus thing, but like just of other aliens happening on other planets, but that like somehow tie into the
eventually
same,
it'll all come back.
Like
the
at the
Fleming
end,
verse.
Yeah, exactly. At the end, you're like, oh. That must be the planet, like that's like literally right next to this planet, like because that thing only like some kind of weird like this rule that happens in this world, it has happened in this world. Like,
that's a cool idea.
So like
Stephen King does that in every single one of his books.
Yeah,
every single one. Whether it's the Green Mile or whether it's the Dark Tower, it all connects some way. I was just reading a book. It was The Outsider that he wrote, which then connected to another book that he wrote, Mr. Mercedes, and that sequel, and then they tied something to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just like out of nowhere, he like makes these connections. The one about John F. Kennedy getting shot, where the guy goes back in time. He goes back to Derry, Maine.
Right.
And there's like the kid. He runs into the group of kids.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that like it's only there for the fans.
Yeah. I'm a massive Stephen King fan. I read it was probably like 10 or 12 years ago. I was just like knees deep. Like I read all of these books. And The Dark Tower was like my favorite thing. One of my favorite things ever. And I also got a book that it's like it explains the connections or whatever. Have you read the Dark Tower series?
Yeah. Did you read it all the way through?
Oh yeah. So,
did you read the last chapter?
Yeah.
Even after he told you not to?
Yeah. Which I thought was a really cool way to do it. It was a really cool way to do it. He was like, here's the ending for all you, for the way I want to. Now all you are going to complain. Here's the actual ending or whatever. Yeah. But I like the Dark Tower. He like explains it as sort of like the spine of his universe, and then everything else kind of comes off of
it.
Well,
it's the tower. The tower is the hub of the wheel.
It's like the axis of everything. Yeah. It's a brilliant story. I just love it.
What'd you think of the movie?
I didn't even see it. That's how I saw bad reviews. And I saw they were like paring it all down. Like if they had just done a gunslinger movie, I thought that's what they should have done.
They changed it. They changed everything.
Yeah.
Well, they probably like this is another thing with like movies where like I don't complain but I complain.
Yeah.
I think they have to for the sake of what we just talked about.
Right.
The movie has to feel good and exist as like a 1 hour-and-a-half to 2 hour long thing. And if you like throw in every little fan base theory, then it's like the thing just feels like unfinished.
I think what they should have done is Harry Potter style epic.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't have the build. The Dark Tower fandom is not anywhere near that. They don't want to sink. Like we're gonna make 9 movies. They wanted to get it out and do the cool stuff first.
You could still make the first one, and the first book ended because he didn't know that he was going to write.
Right.
I mean, he had plans, but
They could have done the first 2 books together.
Yeah, where it ended could have been, just where it ended.
Right.
But having said that, I've started going into movies, and I was talking to your former student about this last night.
Shout out to James Dean.
Yeah, I was talking to him about
James Dean.
Yeah.
I was talking to him about it, and I started going into movies with the idea that I'm going to enjoy it for what it is.
Yep.
Right? We like Pacific Rim or Godzilla or Kong Skull Island. Like, I'm not gonna go and be like, that can't happen. That's not feasible.
Yep.
I mean, it's giant robots fighting interdimensional monsters. What's it supposed to be?
Right.
What are they aiming for? Because I used to shit all over like the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
Oh, they're making an 8th one? How stupid is this? Okay, but if you're into like fast cars and hot girls and giant jack dudes driving those fast cars,
Might as well make 20.
Fleming's life. You just recited his tattoo on his back.
I mean,
in
almost
all
word for word.
it's just a scroll.
Yeah, dude, you're absolutely right. We used to sort of jokingly, but not really jokingly, Aaron and I, my wife and I, used to go to the opening night of the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
Because it's just like pure joy. I mean, you could sit there and be like, look, this is for dummies. Or you could just sit there and like smile and enjoy explosions.
Yeah,
it's
enjoy the fact that The Rock is hanging out of a charger.
It's
shooting
fine.
a rocket
It's
launcher.
fine. It's great. It's all great. You could
Which
also
is-
go watch like Oscar-winning whatever. You just gotta get your mind in the right.
Right. Yeah, if you're going for storyline,
Right.
then you just wasted your money
Right.
because you're not going to get great dialogue.
Right.
You're not going to get an in-depth, multi-layered story.
Yeah. It's like going on a roller coaster and then like complaining that this Shakespeare play sucked.
Or like,
it's like, what are you?
it's like the Mamba, like the theme of this roller coaster was the worst. It really should have been called like the big red snake, like it was just like which is real.
I
Like
mean,
that's like
there's a mamba, but mambas aren't red. They're clearly black. The guy on the intercom, his dedication to the bit of telling us how to buckle up just didn't work.
So this is a roller coaster at Worlds of Fun, right? And it's like the Mamba's gonna strike. You're like, Mamas don't strike, man. You just pull me out of experience, bro. Like,
That's right. That's right.
The Yelp review is gonna suck.
So that G.I. Joe movie that came out a long time ago,
Yeah.
like that same thing. Like people, I loved that movie.
That's on the theater.
I loved that. I did too, because it was just like, dude, it's freaking
I never saw the sequel, though. I
It's
should've seen
freaking
that.
G.I. Joe, man.
Yeah, dude.
A
What do you
bunch
want?
of dudes are gonna be dressed up like G.I. Joes, and we're gonna blow stuff up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super cheesy. Like, what? How can you even say the old one wasn't right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
like man,
Yeah, the
It's
cartoon.
literally ruined the artistic
yeah,
quality
yeah,
of the.
right. Like it got such bad reviews because
Yeah.
like things like it was like, dude, did you watch the old G.I. Joe?
Yeah,
Like,
the cartoon was terrible.
Yeah.
But people have that nostalgia about it.
Yeah.
And they remember, I used to love the old G.I. Joe. If they made a G.I. Joe movie that was verbatim off of the cartoon,
Same outfits.
yeah, people would be like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why did they waste money on it?
Yeah.
And you could have the biggest stars and doing it, and you'd still be like, no, I'm not paying
That's right.
attention to this.
That's why. This is why the Marvel movies are so good, though, because they combine all that we were just talking about, but they also add on like a well-written story.
Well, and
it actually that seems to be what DC is missing.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I think actually, believe it or not, I feel like DC's kind of got the story part. Well, they did. I wish they never would have left the Dark Universe. Like I thought that.
Yeah.
I was like a huge fan of the Man of Steel, and I thought that like the darker parts of Batman vs Superman were pretty cool. Then they just started cheesing it up. If they'd have just stuck with that like creepy,
I think
scary kind of thing, it would have been
my
great.
theory on why DC's doing the way they're doing is Marvel's been around for 10 years in the cinematic universe. They just did 10
Yeah,
years,
it's
right?
like 11 now. Yeah.
So you've had 10 years to build this universe.
Yeah, DC's rushing it.
DC is like, okay, we have to do exactly.
We want
what
Avengers
Marvel-
too. Whoa,
we
whoa,
have
whoa,
to
slow
do-
down.
We have to do exactly what
Yeah.
Marvel's doing, but we have to do it now.
Yeah.
And so we've given ourselves a 3-year window to create all these characters, bring them together, and then fight the big bad guy.
Yeah.
It took 10 years for anybody to meet Thanos, like anybody in the Avengers to meet Thanos.
That's
10
right.
years.
That's right. And we still haven't. I mean, it's going to be 12 years before they even conclude this story. And
Right.
You're right.
And so here you already have, within 2 movies that you're trying to form the Justice League, Superman has appeared in 2 movies, and you've already killed him.
Right.
So what they should, in my opinion...
Yeah, they've already pulled the classic, like, revive the superhero
Yeah.
thing, which is, like, gonna happen in Marvel, but not yet. We've
Right,
given...
payoff, too.
Yeah,
Like, this,
yeah.
like, with the end of the first Avengers movie, people were like, you knew they're coming back, but you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, a movie and a half is not enough to build up any sort of emotional connection
Right.
to a
Yeah.
character. So you have, what they should have done is Man of Steel, where he kills Zod and he has to struggle with, am I somebody who kills bad guys or not?
Right.
He struggles with that all through the second movie. In the second movie, at the very end, he decides that's not him, I'm better than that. Then in the third movie, Doomsday comes. And that's like the ultimate, because Doomsday doesn't quit. You either kill him or he
kills you.
And so then you have that epic battle. And the crazy thing, it's right after he had decided, I don't kill sentient beings. So then after three movie arc,
Yep. You
kill
could
him.
have still been at the same spot.
Then as you're doing that in the second Superman movie, then you have another Batman movie, and that could be Batman versus Superman if you want. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just need something in that second slot.
Yeah.
And then you just start introducing people as Superman's dead. The death of Superman gives rise to all these other supervillains, which gives rise to all these other superheroes that try to fill that void.
It'll be nice.
And then Superman comes back,
Giving each
forms
hero
the
an
Justice,
actual
yeah,
solo movie.
forms the Justice League.
Or let's jam everything you just said into a 2-hour movie,
Yeah.
and then start randomly introducing characters, and then introduce everybody in the movie that they're supposed to come together in.
Yeah. And then, I mean,
montages work.
You're not-
that's what montages are for.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right.
I mean,
Introduced
even
Cyborg
like-
Flash, Green Lantern was in that in the background or whatever. They introduced all those characters in the movie when they're supposed to come together, and you're supposed to be like, "Ooh, cool."
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that.
Are we gonna see Green Lantern like for real, or
They're saying it's gonna be like 2022.
It's Green Lantern Core now, which is cool.
That is kind of cool.
There's talks about
Tom Cruise was going to be in it.
But the
On a
problem,
motorcycle?
Yeah,
I said Tom Cruise was going to be in it, didn't I?
he is also. I mean, Hal Jordan.
That's all he ever makes with his ring. He just
Yeah.
makes motorcycles.
Hal Jordan is also a fighter pilot. So maybe instead of it being
Top Gun crossover. Top Gun 2 is about to come out.
That's right.
Top
At
Gun
the
2.
end, you just
Top Gun 2.
Maverick's true name is going to come out. There's going to be like a folder that falls on the table.
This is Hal Jordan.
And like a sticker falls off where it's got his real name and it says Hal Jordan.
the last scene, he just like gets lost in like a little green vanish into this plane.
There you go. We figured it out. We got it.
Top Gun 2 is happening. Like they're filming it right now.
What?
It's
I
the
don't know.
next generation. It's like Iceman's son. And I don't know.
That's one of those movies that comes out, and it's just because it says Top Gun, people watch it, but everyone's disappointed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, the first movie kind of sucks, to be honest. I
Yeah.
like it, but it's like
It's all nostalgia.
it's also
Yeah.
basically gay porn. There's the homoeroticism and that movie.
The 10-minute volleyball game.
Oh yeah, like the shower scenes and stuff.
I mean, what was that time for then?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for suppressing your homoerotic fantasies.
That's right. It's great. There's a
How many kids left that theater? Oh man.
speaking of gay porn. Back to Apollo.
I mean, I really don't have much more to say about it, honestly.
See, that's your problem.
That's your problem, bro. This
So
is why we're
actually,
here.
my problem is I don't know how to. I'm really bad at this. Me and Green have sat down and talked about this a lot. Like, I don't have an elevator pitch because, and like the way I write stories is like, this is about this message. This is about this message. This is about this message. It could be about like a bunch of dudes living in trash cans.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be about this message, and so I have a really hard time describing my story without telling my story.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I was dealing with that yesterday too. Like, what was this about? And I was like, it's about this big guy who runs up a mountain trying to get a thing.
And so I'm like, I always struggle with like, do I say like, this is about like like finding out who you are as a person and like knowing that you're never in the wrong place at the wrong time and that like
no, because then everybody's already asleep.
Yeah, exactly. And like the things that happen in your life are like are important, and it's like no, what?
No, you'd be like,
you're like, all right, a bunch of robots like blow stuff up, and like in the end he learns a lesson. Like it's just like
they don't even bring the lesson. It'd be like it's just about like robots on this crazy planet.
Yeah,
shit's going down.
And like who are the robots? And are there people inside them? Are there aliens inside them? Who knows? I guess you have to read my book to find out.
Yeah. Isn't there like there's like
stop asking questions and read my book.
You don't have like there's like some sort of driving plot, like a conflict or something, right? Is there like a bad guy?
Yeah, so I mean, the huge overall story is like a pool of like the like nature versus man, like the decisions we make,
right.
like literally tearing the planet apart, which is like if you've seen, like I posted on my Instagram like that photo of like the weird like planet that like we zoom in on is like literally like spikes are through the planet holding it together.
Right.
So it's like this war on the planet for so all the robots are they're called bodysuits. And it's like all these like robotic people have they dug into the planet and found this technology, and then like one side of the planet just kept digging until the world literally like didn't have enough mass and it just started like tearing apart.
Yeah.
And the other half it was like we have to stop digging, and it's like the idea is like even like they wear the bodysuits now because of like their atmosphere is breaking up and they have to wear them.
Right.
Or else like they can't even live on the planet that they live on.
That's a cool concept.
So the idea is that like they become.
It was almost an elevator pitch. Although that was all describing setting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Like I've just set up the thing,
right. But you're not making a trailer for this thing right now. All you got to do is tell people that, and you're interested.
That's true.
I mean,
that's super interesting.
You're not. If once you go in Good Morning America, maybe have somebody give you a better pitch than that. But whenever you're just talking to people at ComicCon or at a bar or whatever, then just do what you do.
You guys want more beer?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back. Don't put a whoopee cushion on my seat.
Too late. So in this whole process, you and Green talk about kind of struggles you have, stuff like that. What, other than the pitch, what's the hardest part throughout this whole process of getting stuff made?
My flow right now is that I love to just draw. And when I sit down, I either have a robot in mind or I have like a character in mind or I want to just like do a fan piece. Mm-hmm. So I just sit down and start drawing. And then I realize I've used my time for the day to make this thing. Mm-hmm. And then my daughter wakes up from her nap and my drawing time is over.
Right.
And then I'm like, crap, I actually didn't even do Apollo today. Or like any given day during like the course of teaching, maybe my students get busy for 10, 20 minutes at a time and I get to doodle at my desk or whatever. Yeah. And then I realize like, it's just like I'm the worst time manager ever. Like I always am making sure I'm drawing. But I'm like sometimes I just feel like I spend a whole month. This is why I always do challenges for myself. Yeah. Because I'll spend a whole month drawing, but then when I look back, I'm like, crap, what did I draw? Like I just spent another month not making Apollo.
Oh, I was gonna say that earlier. You should explain what Inktober is, because a lot of people might not know what that is.
That's a good point. So Inktober is the entire reason I ink. Right. About I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago. Was it 2 years ago?
When he says ink, he means use ink pens to make his art.
There you go. So it was actually right when I first started like working with Raytown. So I guess it would have been about almost a full 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Like I just started taking my art seriously. I just started like my Instagram was private, and then Rau was the one who was like, hey, actually you should do something with this. Like I'm like I don't know, I'm not good enough yet. Like I had that kind of stuff in my mind. He was like, look at my stuff. I'm not even like we've always been kind of that same level. And you were like, mine's not private. People like. Put yourself out there basically, and so I did. Right. And the month I did was like the month before October, which I can't even say it because I'm just completely, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, right. It led up into October, and as I was like posting and like doing more Instagram, I figured out this thing that Jake Parker. There's a name drop too. If you guys don't know Jake Parker and you're into art, like look that guy up because he's super inspirational. But he made up this thing called Inktober, where you spend the entire month of October doing one ink drawing a day for all 30 days. And so I was like still basically trying to find my voice, and I was like, I'll do this. And I did. So what I did the first time was I penciled every other day and I inked every other day. Mm-hmm. So I did 15 drawings in over 30 days, and it was like at the end I was like, whoa, I'm a better artist, and I love inking. And then the next year I did all 30 days, and it was like at the end of that I literally like put the pen down and didn't want to draw for like a whole week because it's exhausting, but it's like this thing where you're like, you come out the other side like literally cramming in like what most people do in like over like 3 or 4 months in 1 month, and then like it's like growth as an artist, like just like that. And so
as you were talking, I thought I might do that for our little 1.5 because I want to do it in the traditional Magnus 1.5. I want to do it in the traditional comic style.
Yeah.
Make it kind of cartoony. I could draw it all in September and then ink it for Inktober. I never really do Inktober because I'm not really a pen guy.
Yeah,
But that might be a fun task, and it'll make it look a lot, a different vibe than the original.
That would be kind of cool.
I might do that.
Also, but this is what I love about art right now. So like traditional comics, when you said that, it made me think of that.
Yeah.
5-10 years ago, like there's a reason why there were traditional comics, like the way we had to scan things in, the way we had to like process things, like you needed hard, sharp, clean lines.
Right.
With Photoshop and the things we can do today, like a lot of people don't ink clean, precise pencil lines, drop it into Photoshop, hit it with a little bit of a levels adjustment, and like
That's what I do. And actually, it's kind of cool to see your like erase marks and your scratchy lines.
Yeah. When we were talking about that too, some people aren't even using paper.
Yeah.
You just have the program up and you're using your
That's
little stylus.
Most people actually.
Scotty Young roughs digitally, prints it off.
That's right. Draws over.
Inks traditionally, and then scans it back in for colors. And I love that. It's like such a weird thing that it doesn't matter where you start or where you end. You can just it's just such a transient thing that's like really cool to like see people different people's processes. I've seen Jake Parker do. He inked it digitally, printed it off, colored it traditionally, and then scanned it back in. And then like it was like a cool like the pants of the character were like painted, but then he scanned it back in, and then he did the shirt of the dude digital. It was weird like. It doesn't even matter. You can just like pop it out of the computer, pop it back into the computer, pop it out. It's crazy. I love that.
So you've done an illustrated book. You're working on your second illustrated book. You're working on. Chris is doing. Sorry, I forget that you guys can't see. Chris is doing illustrated books. You, Fleming, are doing.
This would be technically my third comic
book stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Which do you prefer? Chris is about to try to do a comic book traditional style.
Right.
Have you ever tried doing like an illustrated book?
So
because the reason I ask that is because you seem like you're getting yourself bogged down with like the traditional comic format on Apollo. Like you said, you just want to sit there and draw a picture, and so then you leave the comic gets set aside, and you just draw your picture. Anytime you're on. With Green, I was telling Chris about this. You're drawing Hellboy or Wonder Woman or Superman. You're drawing a picture instead of sitting there doing Apollo, which I know you're saving a lot of that for Inktober, but I feel like those streams, I don't know how many people watch, but I watch, and I love that Apollo idea. So like get that stuff under the camera and start penciling. Is it the fact that it's a whole lot, or it's just you don't really enjoy it and you want to do the
I think it's like kind of a combo of just like being too much in my head about it sometimes too, of like other people don't want to see this yet, or maybe I'm not ready to show this yet, like that kind of stuff. Like a lot of times you're like doing your own personal stuff and you're like you get a weird like stuck in your head of like no one wants to see this. Like I'll post it finished and people will be stoked about it, but they don't want to see me roughing this like weird planet out and being like I can't even tell what that is. What is that?
Well, I told you before whenever you guys were doing the live stream that the process, at least for me, I can't speak for everybody, but me watching the process of something happening makes me enjoy the finished product that much more. So without giving away like anything in your comic, say, hey, I'm working on this panel here. This is what we're doing. This is what's going on in the story. Because then you can also do that promotion, and you don't have to sit there and have a sales pitch. You can say, like, hit a tiny plot point here and be like, this is what's going on in this panel, and then you're sitting there drawing it out and stuff like that.
I mean, I totally agree. I need to do more of it. I don't have an excuse. It's just one of those things of like, because usually it's like, okay, I'm going live. I go live every Sunday, 9 o'clock Central Time. Like for Scott, it's like 6 o'clock because he lives in Washington. So it's just like whatever piece I have sitting in my studio that needs to be finished is just usually what I throw underneath the camera.
Right.
So it's like it never really, and it should maybe be more of a thought. But it is just like, oh, cool, yeah, I've been working on this Hellboy, I'll throw it underneath and whatever. There just needs to be something underneath the camera, but that's true. But what you said about the whole traditional thing, I'm trying to not. I mean, if anyone's ever bought or read my Boy and the Bike story, I mean, I wrote that as like big, like there's only like 2 or 3 pages that are paneled. Most of it is just like one big picture that I put but I did like comic words on. So it's like, I'm not even stuck in the idea of like it has to be panels and it has to be a comic. Like I'm just trying to illustrate a thing. But here's another name drop. But Jason Brubaker I'm like a huge fan of his. I found him really early on when I got into this. He wrote his whole first book like on spreads, and I love that. And I'm not necessarily copying that, but I am like you said, I illustrate more than I like story tell. Like I draw like a person in a pose with like an emotion, and like that tells a story. I'm trying to do more of that in my book. I'm trying to not fight what I already like to draw.
And I was kind of thinking about what like your style and how it goes. I think you would be good. You could have a traditional comic like format.
Yeah.
But instead of having panels, every 2 page, like you open it, and it's a giant splash page, and you can still have words and stuff on there.
Yeah.
And then you turn the page, another giant splash page, and the splash page could be 2 dudes facing each other. It could be scenery. It could be whatever. I think that'd be.
That'd be cool. That's basically what it's born. Like you should totally. That's a great idea.
I mean, that is it. You're describing the way I've paneled this out. Like if you look at my sort of quick little storyboard roughs, it is what I'm doing. Like basically, so I've made a rule for myself. There's like a minimum or a maximum amount of panels I can put on every page, and like that kind of thing. Most of it's going to be large image or chopped in half image, or like maybe like floating panel over a spread kind of thing. Yeah. Which is another thing I love. I love when you read a comic and it's like a big spread, where it's like this beautiful scene, and there's like a floating panel that's like a zoom in of the person's face, like that kind of. Like I love that kind of stuff. That is how I draw. Is like that kind of thing. So yes, the answer to your proposal is that is what Apollo will feel like.
That's good. I still haven't seen your storyboard. I was going to say, not to interrupt you, the reason why I stopped doing the Weaver and Dutch comic, which was my first attempt at this, was because I will go back and do it because as I get better, and but like I would do like a huge battle sequence, which is super fun for me, and then you have like 2 pages of story where it's like just heads talking to heads in a bar. Yeah. And it's like, this is so fucking boring. And like drawing the same guy's head tilted slightly or whatever, or they're sitting at this table, this guy needs to be at this side. That was just like, I hated that. So I might adjust it a little bit when I come back to it.
That's what I always think of. Like, you might as well just give me a big splash of the whole bar, right?
And then write the story.
And just write the story, And maybe
kind of
maybe
a
zoom in.
Yeah,
exactly. And maybe a zoom in or 2 of a head, but once.
Right.
And then like just let the words flow throughout this like beautiful illustration of this page.
I think that's what I'm gonna do when
I mean, if you read a lot of Image comics nowadays and a lot of more modern stuff, like most people they play with that a lot more,
And look at those old comics, it's like 9 squares on a page, just like this.
Well, Watchmen, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a beautiful book and it works really well, but like I think the problem with that is like you don't need to just like follow the format of every other comic that's ever been made. Like for comics to evolve. Right. And like all that kind of stuff, you gotta like figure out how your story works.
Well, Magnus wouldn't have even happened if I had not just done this. Fucking, I'm gonna just make an illustrated page and then write a story next to it because I wouldn't have done the like. Then he walks out and he sees this guy and says hello and then walks up the step and then he does this and I could.
In Invincible, they talk about that.
The square panels.
Yeah, they talk about doing panels. And it was whenever he went to the comic book store and was talking to the guy about science stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And the guy was like,
science.
Yeah, it used to be really good, but then they just started replicating the panels so that it made it easier for them to do.
As they're doing it in the book.
Yeah. And so, he goes, that seems lazy, and it's just the exact same panel over there with different words. He goes, yeah, it is. But it seems like whenever I used to read comics, I was just like, oh, this is a comic. X amount of people worked on it, and they crank these things out constantly. But getting to know you guys, getting to know the process, getting to know everything, it seems like a ton of work to put out one single comic. And now I understand why whenever you open that front cover, it says inker, penciler, second penciler, person who they do a letterer, the person who does the bubbles. There's a job for each tiny little piece, because if you did everything. If you did this omnibus, cover to cover, writing, illustrating, inking, coloring, doing the letters, all of it, you'd blow your brains out.
Well, it'll take 10 years.
Right.
More than that. You just don't have time.
So it makes sense now why they farm out every tiny little piece of this.
Well, like what you're describing too is what I feel is the problem with comics right now. Like it as a media is like when I go to a comic shop, at least I look for graphic novels, or I have certain I follow a lot like maybe about 10 current like Image comics that I love, but like this idea of like just like I need to bust it out. It needs to be one issue every week. Like that thing, I feel like it's dying. Like I really feel like the idea of a creator or two, or maybe three, like a crew or a group that like works on a thing and like they release it already as a novel, as a, like the whole like just floppy thing. I don't know. I just like I still collect them, but like even every time I do, I wonder like why do I do this when I know it's just gonna get collected? It's just like it just feels like that this industry as a whole could change its like vibe to be like this thing where every few months you're expecting this beautiful book to come out, and that would just like drive so much more traffic. Like expecting this beautiful new novel to come out and not like, I missed last month, whatever, it was just a floppy, I'll pick it up. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you accidentally miss a week at the comic shop, you're like, I'll pick it up whenever I pick it up. But if you miss like a beautiful book, you're like, I need that book. I need this thing.
What's keeping people from doing that, one, is a new graphic novel is $20.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you're reading, I have The Flash, I have Green Lantern, I have Batman, Detective Comics, Action Comics, Superman, Walking Dead. I probably get, in a month, I get 15 comics.
Yeah.
And so it's about 6 issues long, so every 6 months, I can't afford to go drop $400 on graphic novels.
Right.
But I mean, I get what you're saying too. It's going to be interesting what the digital comic realm is going to do.
Yeah,
and I know
that's all I do.
I know they've had digital comics forever.
Yeah.
But now Marvel has the Marvel Unlimited, so I pay $65 a year, and I get almost every single comic Marvel ever made.
Yeah.
And then after about 6 weeks or so, they release like another issue that's in the line. So I'm a month, 2 months behind on what just came out, which I don't need to be the first one who read it.
Yeah.
But now DC is following that model, and they're doing like the DC universe, and they're supposed to. We'll see how that goes. I've already pre-ordered mine, but that's going to essentially be a giant digital library of a bunch of.
But like you kind of just like made my point. Like, okay, so we've got our single issues digitally, right? Like, okay, cool. I get my fix, my feed from that, and then we have our events. Like, I want like my Marvel event, my original Sin, like those things. I want them in like a beautiful hardback collected copy. I'll pay $50 for that thing. It comes out once a year, and it's like the top creators right now with Marvel are making that.
Right.
I get Jason Aaron and I get some other awesome artists along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just feel like the format of like what the event looks like versus the like casual read.
Yeah.
They just need to like seriously like. Did you read Original Sin? It was like I think it was like 3 years ago. Their event. It's still one of my favorite events that they ever did. And I'm just like imagining if I could have that as like a beautiful hard copy, just like book that they like really put their time into, like it just would have meant so much more for me, and it already did mean a bunch. You know?
Another issue with that would be the collector side of it.
Yeah.
So
that's
Marvel,
the main issue.
Marvel and DC really thrive on saying, "Oh, this is going to be a big issue," and if you have Spider-Man number 100,
right,
then it's worth more than if you have the trade that has Spider-Man 100.
Yeah, the whole resale value,
which
stuff. I get that.
It's kind of Marvel's kind of shot themselves in the foot because they keep re-releasing number ones.
Right.
So they came out with all new, all different number ones. That went on for 3 months.
Yeah.
Then they did Marvel Now or whatever, and then number ones. Then they did Marvel Legacy, where they went back to like Spider-Man 700 something, but then at the top there's a little number one, and then they just released another Spider-Man with Ryan Otley, number one.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh, here's all these number ones, and they're just flooding the market, and all of them are going to be worthless.
Right.
Image is the same thing. They had a bunch of like, it was like, I think it was called Image Now actually too, and like they kind of re-released for like 99 cents. You could pick up a number one because you couldn't find one basically.
Yeah.
I think that's the point of those two. It's more of like we can't find these for more than $50, $100 a piece.
Yeah. I got a bunch of those sitting in my house right now. They're just called number ones.
Yeah.
And it says Image number ones. So I got like Rednecks, and then another one that looks like some old gangster type comic book. But yeah, see, something like that would be smart. But reorganizing and rehashing how you're going to set up new storylines like every arc can't start with a number 1.
I'd like to take a fat number 2 on those number 1s. Am I right, guys?
Were you feeling left out, Chris?
I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I'm still over here drinking.
But yeah, I get that. It's the collectible side of comics.
Yeah.
It's like the fight between the like collectors versus like they're trying to get new people in is what they're trying to do, and I get that. But it's I don't know. I just think about all like the creator-owned people that I follow, and like every time
It's so much better.
Yeah, every time they make a book, I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Take my money. You worked your ass off. I want you to have my money. Like I want your book, and I want you to have my money. Like that's a thing for me too.
Yeah.
Like when I spend my money, I think of 2 things: whether I want the product and whether I want the person getting my money to get my money.
Yeah.
And like I think that's a thing that's happening a lot more with a lot of people too. Is
Absolutely.
like, who am I paying for this?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even. I do that. I 100% will buy whatever whoever I follow, you know.
Yeah.
And then I follow like 3 artists, but I'm not really invested in like, you know, Batman 7000 or whatever. I'm reading Spider-Man for the first time in my life, only because Ryan Otley's doing it, and it's really cool. It's almost like Invincible.
Yeah, it's a really
Spider-Man
fun
universe.
story.
It's super fun.
But I enjoy collecting the.
Hey, will you give me that BKS, Aaron Fleming? Freudian slip.
I enjoy collecting like the individual issues, and that's not me saying, oh, in the future I'll make $1 million off of these. I just enjoy the art of collecting them.
Sure.
And I read them, I put them in their binders, and then I put them away. If it's a cool story that I think somebody else would like, then I buy the trade.
Yeah.
And then I try to get them to do an episode with me.
Right.
The trades have been a lifesaver for me, especially trying to get people to read them, because I don't want to let somebody else borrow them, like my paper copies, and then they don't treat them the way that I would.
Sure.
So yeah, I love having these just 6 issues all in one book.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of, when are we going to do volume 2 of Invincible?
Whenever you want.
Not the omnibus volume. We can't cover an entire omnibus.
Well, we could do like you finish reading the entire 144 issues. And we
Okay.
just like talk about the entire story for like 3 hours without the books. Just the
8
cool
hours.
the cool things we remember.
Yeah.
I'm serious about that. I have things that happen in that book that like I still think about that are just amazing. I think
Yeah.
you're just now starting to get into what I'm talking about. It's starting to get pretty cosmic and brutal.
Right. Yeah, it's so.
We're talking about Invincible, which is we did our first podcast about that. It's an Image comic. It's my favorite book ever.
Yeah, we can either. I mean, we could do that and then just finish out Invincible.
The reason I said that is because I don't want to be like, have you gotten to the point when whatever yet?
Yeah.
We should just talk about the things.
Gotcha.
Hey, what'd you get? You son of a-
Well, I'm sorry, I was draining the name.
I said, will you give me that beer, that BKS beer?
Oh yeah.
All right, now we can start talking about it.
Okay, so anyway, that guy.
Yeah, I get how you. I do the same thing whenever, especially with this last episode that I did with a buddy of mine, Jacob. I wanted to talk about what happened later, and several times throughout, if you listen to the episode, I'm like, okay, we have to stop talking about this now,
Or I'm
or
gonna spoil it.
I'm gonna spoil my question for later, and we're just gonna have to muddle through that. So let's move on to
Right.
whatever. But thank you. That's just gonna
really
be
good beer.
that's just gonna be the new thing now.
Just if you're wondering, it's about 8:50 in the morning, and we're pounding beer.
Yeah.
All
There's
you
just
listeners.
there's just beer all over this table, empty cans, bottles, and a cup of coffee.
And a couple.
Here, let me get this for you.
okay.
Did you ever finish this one?
No, not yet.
Chug it. There you go.
All right. So now that everybody stopped listening to this
What is
because
it?
their speakers exploded.
we're only on.
We're only an hour in. I listen to a 4-hour
There's-
long podcast.
I'm just talking about their speakers exploding.
Oh.
Okay,
It's like
so-
in their ears. It's just like
No, for real. There's 2 or 3 times in our episode, and I think you open this and the dust jacket like flipped open real loud because it's just like a really loud
Spike.
crack. And I had my earbuds in, and I was sitting there listening. I'm like, this is a pretty good episode. Listening through, and then all of a sudden it's just like, It's like, holy shit, I get hurt. Jesus, what is he doing? And I couldn't figure it out until I hear like the pages going whoosh, whoosh.
How many episodes have you done now?
I think I've done 3. Well, 4 if you count my lost episode. Which Anchor is slowly like allowing more and more
You get access.
access.
You should
they just haven't done YouTube yet. So.
You should probably remaster it and then re-release it as like episode 6 or something.
Yeah, the problem is Kent, the guy that I did it with, is super busy.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it over the summer, but he was just never available.
How many listens and views are you getting per?
I think on Invincible I had my most, and we had like 60 something so far, and it was.
I wonder why that is.
It was like 2 months ago.
Because you were on it.
That's correct.
Well, I got a shout out from Green on his. He told everybody to go listen. He also said that he liked one of them that I did. So
Green.
It wasn't an episode that I did with anybody. It was just one of my little 30-minute explanations.
I like those a lot, actually. I have listened to all those. Yeah.
Those are the ones that I'm most critical on because I want it to sound like I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
But I can't go super scripted with it. The hardest one was the DC Rebirth. And I think because like with Spread and I think what was the other one that I did? Did I do Outcast? Yeah. Outcast Volume 1. Those start right there. There's no backstory to it. Like that's the beginning.
Yeah.
But with DC Rebirth, the whole reason I did that is because I'm going to be doing Batman Rebirth and Flash Rebirth and Green Lantern Rebirth, all of those, and I needed to have like go back and watch this. You'll understand. You don't have to read the whole book. This will get you where you need to go to understand what's going on now.
That's why I like them. I'm not a DC reader, so I'll listen to your stuff and be like, oh, that's kind of cool, actually.
So, yeah, I tried, and I'm not like some huge comic historian. I'm not an expert. I'm not, I don't have the vast knowledge that some of these guys on the internet do. So I also point people towards them. Go watch this guy's Rebirth because it's way better than mine. But yeah, it's just a quick synopsis of it. But there's so much history that you have to know in that DC Rebirth just to understand that one volume. And I'm just like, I was at a loss whenever I read this.
Yeah.
And they
you just perfectly illustrated why I don't. Jump in.
Yeah. Thank God for people. There's a guy's. It's Comics Explained. And that's where I go to watch a lot of shit whenever I'm reading. Because whenever Dark Knight's Metal was out.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott Snyder was throwing shit in there from like Hawkman #1 the first time he came out. They were throwing characters in that you had no idea who they were. So I'd read the comic, then I'd watch his little explanation of that comic, and then I'd read it again. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm kind of wanting to go that route. Yeah. But I don't want it to be as in-depth as he does. Right. Because I have to do other things like work and eat and sleep. Whereas that's all he does. That's his job.
I was thinking like I'll just stop eating and then maybe I'll get more Apollo done.
Yeah. Yeah. Make your make your wife watch the kid.
I love my bed
more than drawing.
Make a rig so that you can lay down and
like
the board is above you and it's just clamped down and then you can just draw from bed.
I've had more fun drawing in the last 6 months than I have in a very long time because of you could just do whatever you want. But when I was getting ready, when I'm drawing Magnus, I've got my list of I've got 26 I need to draw. I was like, okay, I'm on to this one now. I'm it's I would look forward to getting to my desk so I could draw the thing. Yeah. And it wasn't what should I draw today? Deadpool. I had a sort of a driving force or whatever. That's kind of been the same. It's not as much with the Nightmare book just because they're separated stories. But I'm wanting to finish the book. I'm not I'm over it or whatever, but I'm really looking forward to getting back into the Magnus story and continuing it. So I feel like once you get your stride, you're gonna just be
and I think that's I was getting it. Yeah. And then literally I just took my last antibiotic last night and I hope I'm over this. It feels like my voice is raspy. It's
I'm glad you're drinking.
Right? Yeah, it's whatever, man. I can't not enjoy life while I'm sick.
That's true.
But it's it drains you. Yeah. You work all day. I get home and Ellie wakes up and then I'm a father and then it's just well,
there's your problem. Stop being a father.
Yeah.
Also, we are still in the beginning of the school year. We're still trying to set it up. Once the kids start working on projects, we have a lot more time.
The first month of school is I have to I say
things.
this, but I do love my job. But it's I have to appear to love my job to really.
You got to bring the energy.
Yeah, I got to bring
the kids to calm.
and so it's literally when I'm sick and I'm bringing the energy, and then I get home, I literally have been going to bed at 8:00 every night since school started.
Yeah.
And that's usually Ellie goes to bed, and then I get back into it.
Right.
And it's I haven't had that time either. So
Yeah.
I know how that goes. I started my master's program, so I have work. Some nights I have work, more work, and then school.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you compare your master's program to my daughter? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's right. And he said it's harder to do.
Yeah. I'm just
I didn't want to come out and say it, but no, it is because I have my teaching job, and then all the stuff that goes along with teaching, and then I also have a second job, and then I also have every week I have an assignment that's due for my class, and then I try to do this, and then I also try to make time for my wife, and so I mean I get, and I'm not even really creating a whole lot. I just get on here and talk, and I read, whereas you guys are actually putting in effort to do something.
My struggle has actually been juggling. You can't only make, you have to also absorb. You know what I mean? If I need to read, I need to watch, and I need to get. This is a thing actually, a podcast. This is a great little name drop, the 3 Point Perspective podcast. I don't know if you guys have listened to this, but it's Will Terry, Jake Parker, and I cannot. The third name is slipping my brain, but the joke is that there's 3 points to perspective of illustration. But they just talked about one of their podcasts a couple months ago that what you experience in the world brings into your experiences and what you draw and all that kind of stuff, and it's super real. I literally I'm always watching a current series, reading a current series, and then trying to experiencing something. So what I'm drawing becomes different every time, and then I'm running out of time for those things, so I'm only drawing sometimes, and then I'm not experiencing. I'm
feeling
not reading,
stagnant.
Yeah, and it's because so I draw or I watch, and then it's it feels like watching isn't drawing, but it is, because it's me trying to or reading or whatever. It's hard to. That's the part that I'm getting the most stagnant about, is the juggling of experiencing the world and writing and drawing, because you have to. If you just sit in your basement in a bubble, you never you won't write something new. You're gonna write the same old thing.
Right. Absolutely.
I think I've been trying to convince any of my friends who do art to just do live streams, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Just because, for one, I like to see it happen. I like to see it as it's being
For one, entertain me, right?
Right. Yeah. So entertain me. Stop what you're doing and entertain me. But also, I've seen it in Chris that whenever he's on his live stream, whether I'm chiming in or whether he's just doing it and I'm not saying much about the story, he's worked a lot of stuff out. You know what? I'm going to do it this way because, you just talk.
You like seeing the sloppy part.
Well, not just that, but I mean, just if you were just sitting there drawing, not talking out loud to yourself, I don't know that you would have made the same decisions artistically.
Right.
You would have just done it because that's what you had in your mind while you were writing.
Yeah, when you vocalize things, it puts it out there and it changes your. Yeah, I can see what you're talking about.
Because sure. I've seen you do complete 180s on things because you're sitting there I'm going to draw it this way and I'm going to do this, and then you're you know what, I think I'm going to try it this way, and you'll change it. So I think it helps you creatively just to, like you said, vocalize that stuff and kind of make it a reality.
It's also super fun. I mean, I had a student yesterday.
One, it's free promotion.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yesterday I was drawing the Nightmare book, and one of my students was oh man, I wish I could draw like that or whatever. I get that a lot. And I'm oh, you can if you just practice or whatever. And then they're nah, I would get bored drawing all day. I don't like it, or something along the lines of.
You don't want to.
Right. Well, they would be no, I couldn't sit there and draw for that long. I'd lose interest. And I was well, what's something that you really, really like to do? And they're I don't know, sleeping. I was well, yeah, everybody says that, but I feel about drawing like you feel about your bed. Oh, what do you mean? I was I get excited when it's time to start drawing. And
yeah.
There was a little light bulb switched off, and they were oh, so it's not like work or whatever, you know. Like this is such a coming from a perspective of someone who like I was like in the business world for like a long period for like 10 years, and I didn't ever get a chance to do any of this. This is like the best life. Like I have a job that offers me to like sit at my desk and draw.
Yeah.
And people are always like, man, how do you draw so much or whatever? Like, what are you talking about? I'd be like asking you how you fill in the blank of whatever you like to do.
Right.
You know?
Why you binge watch that show?
Yeah, right. It's like,
yeah.
oh, I'd much rather just lay in bed and watch Netflix or whatever. Like this is my version of that.
Yeah.
Know? It's not really that spectacular. It's just I'm just doing something I really like to do.
Also, like having a job that feeds into your passion on top of your passion is just like it's my job to teach students to draw on top of just loving to draw.
Right.
So like.
And how do you do that? By showing them how to draw.
Showing them how to draw.
Anyway.
Yeah. And then also showing them what I'm drawing currently. And then it's like, oh, whoa, you mean you're not just like, you didn't just like read this in a book and it just told you to tell us? Like, no, like I just literally did this exercise this morning and now I'm making you guys do it like yourselves.
It's
like,
weird because it feels like, because you're doing this thing that you really like during your work day and you feel like you shouldn't be. Like, should I be doing, you know?
Yeah.
But our principals and everybody in our school is like super into it. They're like, keep it going, do what you're doing.
We have got to have like the most supportive administration like I've ever had. And it's
they all came to the book release last night, all of them, including were you there when Bruton was there? Name drop. Chad Bruton. Best principal ever. No, they came and they like had beers with us and like were buying books and hanging out. Like they love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's important. I always explain to my drawing students, I'm like, hey, guess what? This knowledge is coming from a working professional in the profession that I'm about to teach you about. Like, I'm not just like, you could be me. Like, you could grow up and you could have an Instagram where people buy stuff from you and you make what you love, and literally every day of your life is just filled with the things you enjoy. Like,
not to mention, you don't even have to grow up. Like some of our students are, instead of getting a job at McDonald's, they're like trying to blow up their Instagram so they can sell like 4 or 5 posters a month and they make as much money.
And I don't know if we've seen it yet in the drawing aspect, but we have students who have like 500,000 people already following their channels
tons
for their passion. Like, I have a student who like does makeup and her YouTube channel.
Yeah, we have the same girl. She's like famous, like 100,000.
Yeah, she's not even out of high school yet. She's just following her passion, and I love that.
Right.
And this is where like it seems like if we were like accountants and we were sitting at our desk not working drawing, it'd be like, and I still kind of feel that every once in a while. I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? But it's like, it is actually part of the job. It's maybe the more important part is like showing an example of how you can do it.
Like modeling to our students, and like this thing looks like this.
The whole point is college and career ready, right?
Right, absolutely.
And so, not only are you showing them that there's a future in this, and that they can enjoy that future, but there is also monetary value, as well.
Yeah. Well, it's really a good message too for the kids. Like, it's not really that much monetary value, but like as a side job, it's super awesome. And for a kid who is just looking for a part-time job, it fits perfectly. Like you can make, maybe make a couple $1,000s a year or whatever, just drawing instead of flipping burgers. It's
a lot easier than, like you said, going and getting like a manual labor job. Right. I mean, and especially if you enjoy it. Now, if you hate it, then it's going to suck, and you're going to feel like you're working. But if it's already something that you like, and then you can also flip that and make, a couple extra bucks here and there.
It's also a little bit different. What we do is like, we're basically just like kids. Like everybody drew cartoons when they were little, but like, so a lot of the kids at this point in their career or their education think, well, the next logical step is to become an adult artist and start painting or whatever. Right. It's like, I mean, you could, that's great, but like, you can also continue drawing cartoons, and like, you're gonna make more money doing this, or
well, and there's more of a market for it for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
At a certain point, once you get into quote unquote adult art,
capital A art is what we call it.
Then I mean, at that point, you have to impress people who might not necessarily share your interpretation of art. You have to prove that your art is good, even though it's not. Right. I mean, the stuff that you put out on posters would not be readily accepted in the capital A art world.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of like that. Actually, that's what I love about.
But then in the art world that I hang out in with you guys, I mean, it's hugely accepted, and
it's also so much more fun.
Yeah, and it's not. It seems, I don't know if competitive is the right word, but it seems less judgmental. Right. Whereas once you reach a certain part and you're trying to get in art galleries and shit like that, they're like, oh, this isn't good art because the message is off. And
Right.
it's kind of what we were saying about, breaking down the Mamba and Fast and the Furious and stuff, right? They have to be able to look at it and see
Looking at it for the wrong reasons of why this thing was made, exactly. Yeah.
Just to be clear, in this analogy, we're Fast and the Furious, right? Okay.
I guess.
Appreciate that.
I would probably say you're more like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Hey, dang it! You had me for a second.
But that is real. We're not competition. I think is like why it's fun.
Not even
like
close,
we even like end up next to each other most of the time at like our booths at ComicCons and stuff. But like the way I ink and the way I color versus the way he pencils and the way he
totally
colors.
different.
Like we have a completely different style. Like our audience is different, but at the same time the same. And like the both of us work off each other and we'll joke and be like, what are you ever here at his booth for? Like, come on over. But it's like a dude who's gonna buy from me probably wasn't gonna buy from Rau, and a guy who buys from Rau wouldn't buy. It's like we have a certain visual and we do have a certain aesthetic that like draws in a certain crowd.
Speaking of Comic-Con, I think we've decided that we're gonna try to get legit arts in the artist alley.
Good.
Because I don't know where else we'd fit in. I think if we went to like a creator booth where they have like the costumes and shit like that,
you don't want to do that.
It's gonna be like $400 extra.
Also, it's kind of, you wouldn't be near.
Yeah, it's not.
You're
it's
the wrong
not,
crowd being there too.
Right. It won't be. It'll be separated and completely lost on everybody.
Yeah.
If we're not in amongst the artists.
Right.
So I think we're gonna. Do you guys get say on like where your booth's gonna be, or do
No,
they
really,
just
you can
assign
they've been putting us in the same spot for like 3 years. I'm gonna change. I want to switch that up somehow. I want to get on the corner like you. So me and Fleming have been next to each other in the exact same spot for 2-3 years running now. I think
Probably
it is.
about 3 years. Yeah.
Do they just have like an empty space and like, or they assign you?
I think they probably have like last year's thing, and then they see
Okay.
who's in, and if you were hitting from last year, they just kind of keep you where you're at.
It probably makes their organization easier to just. And then who didn't come back
Just
and who's
copy
new
paste.
and like
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So I figured we're gonna do that, even though we're not actually selling any art. I mean, it's all based on.
Do you have a monetary? Is there some level of income, or are you just doing this for fun?
No, we're just doing this for fun.
Yep. And for like the public service part.
Yeah. Because I can't think of a way that we can make money without it being suspect and calling into question what we're doing. So what I'm talking about is a branch of Comic Den, which is legit arts. And so what we're going to try to do is bring recognition to people of what is actual artist created pieces and what is stolen from artists, altered and then sold as their own.
Right. Which is a bit of an epidemic at conventions.
Yes.
So we're
And
gonna
since Planet has become a big one, they have been showing up a lot.
They're getting more and more print farm people.
so we're not calling people out, but we're doing the whole knowledge is power.
Right. Yeah. Just make sure the buyers and they ask a couple of questions, make sure the person they're looking at is
We're
legit.
presenting information, not calling anybody cheaters or stealers or anything like that.
Ooh, I just thought of a evolution of your project.
Alright.
Instead of doing what you're talking about, let's go pure negative, and you can just like go like maybe have like a red spray paint can, and once you identify a print farm, just go up and spray paint the guy's shirt or whatever.
Like with the Scarlet A.
Like a stencil. Can I just lay this right here real quick?
Just real quick.
Stencil print form.
And then people
across
will
your
know that they've stolen it.
It'll just be.
Yeah. Just I'm just saying, veer the exact opposite of what you were just saying. Just go pure aggression, and then you'll accidentally get people who aren't who are actually artists start fights.
I like where you're going with that. I think it also might be assault. Definitely.
Maybe just
vandalism.
spray paint. Oh, it's vandalism for sure.
Definitely vandalism.
How about just spray paint the floor? And it's probably even worse. Then you get the city involved.
Yeah. Then that's destruction. That's the destruction of public.
Just do little
property.
circles with a line through them, like red one in front of each booth that's not legitimate.
But yeah, okay. So that's our whole thing, and we would love to take donations. The problem with that is it's going to call into question our integrity if all of a sudden Chris is donating money, and he shows up on our list as legit artist.
Right.
So we want to avoid the whole politician taking donations thing like that. But what we are going to try to do is we're going to have like a button maker. and you guys are gonna have little 1-inch things like pictures that you've made, and then we're gonna give people the ability to like press their own buttons using your guys' art.
Oh, that's
and I've
good.
got a few other artists that
That'd
are
be fun.
on board for that.
This is like, so like at really big shows where there's like big creators that make like you know, like imagine like a Ryan Otley kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
Like I've heard like horror stories of like the dudes just like snapping and being like, that is my cover.
Yeah, you actually have
Like
my cover.
that is like my, like I don't care that you put a splatter paint like filter over this, like that's my cover, take it down. Like dude's like literally like waiting for the guy to leave and just like tipping the booth.
Yeah.
Like stuff like it's a real
People just don't
thing.
even, they're not even aware of the rudeness. Like,
Yeah.
you might not know, Terry Hiddleston, the guy, there's a dude who he has the giant wall of faces.
Right.
He comes to Planet all the time. He's one of my favorites. He's a great dude. We were talking about, oh, why don't you have an Invincible? Because you know I'm a huge Invincible fan. He's like, well, honestly, I go to a lot of the same conventions as Ryan Otley, and he's sitting right across from me, and I feel weird even using his character, or whatever, or like Kirkman or whatever. And it's like the artists who are in the scene are very aware of like, don't try to steal that guy's thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But the ones who just show up with all the shit and they like have the huge wall and it's like it's just it's super annoying. It's just like this person's like stealing your stuff right out in front of you.
Right.
There are stories about people ripping down walls, like what you were going to get to, like just like this is mine, yanking over the whole thing.
I was watching a video about some guy who confronted a table selling shirts. He goes, "You need to stop selling that shirt. That's my friend's piece.
Design, right?
Yeah. You just took it off of the internet and you put it on a shirt. Stop selling it." And the guy's like, "No, man, I'm just running this booth for my cousin."
That's what they always say. It's not mine.
It's not. I don't even know, man. I'm sorry.
That's their thing. It's my brother's
that's flag
cousin.
number one.
Yeah.
They're at a wedding.
The artist in the wedding in San Francisco. He really wanted to be here.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
So we've developed 3 questions. We had 5, but we also wanted it to be able to fit on like the back of a business card without seeming too crowded. We can fit 3. So is the artist here? Like, is the artist who created this piece?
That's red flag number 1 right off the bat.
But at the same time, like even like Terry Hiddleston sends his wife, you know, it's like you have to be careful with number 1, which is why number 1 is only number 1, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and it's also why we're prefacing all of these with this is not 100%.
yeah.
Also, if you go up to like the Frazetta girls thing, it's like Frank Frazetta's not going to be here. He died many years ago. Like some of the big artists that are companies, that's a different thing. We're talking about something else.
Yeah, but I mean, so number one. If they're not there, does this person have any original pieces that I can look at?
That I can look at right here.
Right,
That's
because
great.
you don't necessarily have a portfolio, but you always cover your table
With
in
those sketches and stuff,
Those little sketches.
Yeah.
You've got originals sitting around.
Yeah, originals are my biggest pool.
That's a good
Okay,
thing.
and so whenever you get through that question, the third question is, do they have a social media presence?
Yeah.
That I can go.
I think number 3 is one of the biggest flags. So you ask the dude for a business card or whatever, and they'd send you to a website, and it's called like Comic 1257, or we sell comics.
ID number, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a
and you go to
flimsy
that
thing.
website, and it's like the same art, but it's like it's also this weird thing of like when you see 1,000 different styles on one. It's like nobody masters splattering, perfect painting, like hard
Design
line
work,
art,
yeah,
like
yeah.
design. It's like
Cartoony,
there's a
realistic.
reason why when you go to Artist Alley, every booth looks different. Like
Right.
when you're an artist, you like perfect a certain specific like look and style and media. It's like no one can just be a master of them all. And when you see that all in like one giant wall, you're like, why? So he splatters and he like makes the best beautiful.
Then they're working on this because they say, well, this is the wife who does this style and this is the husband, and neither of them are here because they're whatever. I just wrote them out. It's such bullshit. Remember how disappointed we were? Obviously, that one convention when they were selling everything.
Yeah,
But
they
they
were
had-
right across from us.
Yeah, but the ones they had those like really awesome like white pieces of art, and they had like it was like all white, and then there was like a very dark, beautiful graphic in the middle.
Yeah.
And they were so cool, and we
They
like
were.
both wanted to go buy it, and then we realized that somebody just figured out a way to put a cool filter on some art, and we.
Because then I remember I recognized one. I was like, wait, that's like literally like that's like the box art for like that anime or something. I like remember I recognized it, and I was like, that's not a thing. You just took that and put a little.
And the shitty thing about it is the people who are buying it, just recognize that it's like, oh, that's the guy from whatever
Yeah.
thing, and I like the style. But like they would come support local artists if it wasn't for these
Right.
people who just like are snaking everybody's business.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is if you still want to buy that piece, that's on you. We just want you to be able to go in,
Be aware.
and buy with, you know all the facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're still willing to buy something that was stolen, whatever, you do you.
One of the big things also that I've noticed now going to, maybe we've been to 6 or 7 of these now, is if you go into the alley, like down the rows, you'll see the smaller tables with like people like me and Fleming.
Right.
If you stay on the outer part, you're going to see the giant poster factories. And that's not to say that those are all bad, because that's like where Terry Huddleston is, or like those guys. But that's generally speaking where you're going to get your people
Where you're
who
gonna
are
find them, yeah.
stealing
Right.
art.
Yeah, so we've been trying to like hammer all this out, like, because it's going to be a fairly large undertaking that we have to kind of get ready for, and we also want to be as non-combative in our message,
Right.
so that whenever somebody does come up, and they might not at this Comic-Con, they might not for 5 years, who knows, but we figure at some point somebody's going to approach us, and they're going to be upset.
Oh, they're going to come right away.
And
But also fuck them, because who cares? They're
we
liars.
just we want to be able to just point to our materials, like, which part of this is offensive to you.
Yeah.
Also,
which
I think
part of this has wronged
your
you.
best response to that is just have the artist contact me.
Yeah.
Have the actual artist contact me.
Right.
And like, we'll solve this. I'll put them on my list.
Yeah.
Because it's always a weird third-party person.
Yeah.
Like, me and Rau are convinced that this is like a weird
It's like a pyramid scheme.
It's like a pyramid.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a company.
Like, it's a company that like sends you like product and gives you a speech and tells you like, these are questions people might ask you, and this is how you should respond.
Like, you pay in, you probably pay them $1,000. They send you $5,000 worth of goods, and you go try to sell it.
Yeah. And then like then you have this like list of like, where's the artist? Oh, they're in Washington right now at a wedding.
They're at another convention. They
Yeah.
want to come to this, but
Yeah.
I'm his assistant. And
Yeah, like there's it's always the same and like what we're saying is like, I mean, it's real. Like 10% of the time, you probably do have that. Like, oh yeah, like because it happens. That's like Planet keeps changing dates because they keep conflicting with other conventions. But it's like, okay, dude, like. Why this? Oh, this is why this? Can I see your business card? And then all of a sudden you look at this website where like, yeah, and you're like, okay, this website literally looks like it was made with like
comics.art.
Yeah.
Pound 14993.
Yeah. Why are no names of any actual artists anywhere on this website?
Right.
Yeah, I got a business card, because what I do, I collect all the business cards I can, and then I go on Instagram and Facebook, and I like their page, and I start following them, just so I can start posting their stuff. If they put out something cool, I want to put it out, let other people know to go over there.
Yeah.
One of them, on the business card, it's just a picture of their booth, and then you go to their Instagram page, and it was just 30 pictures of their booth at different places. there's no, I mean, you could see the art in the background, but there's no like the person drawing or the person messing with it. It was just a picture of their booth in 20 different places.
Like rule number 1 about like a presence online is to get your name and your name like you're not going to be Chris Rau art. You're going to be like Mr. Fleming art. You know what I mean? Like you're like trying to get your name out there. You're not going to like put like comics 1, 2, 3. You're gonna be like, of
course,
whatever art.
You're an artist.
Like,
you're trying to promote.
You're trying to promote yourself. You're not gonna hide like yourself. Like it's flag number 1. You don't hide yourself from your art.
Yeah.
Like no matter how shy, which is usually what you get. The wife's real shy.
They do
like,
that.
That's
right.
Like, yeah, it's like no.
She creates amazing pieces, but
I make $10,000 at a show, but she's real shy. It's like no, that's not real. Like I'm sorry. No matter how shy you are, you're not buying because it's not even the artist booth usually. It's the exhibitor booth, and it's like you're not buying the $500 booth to be shy. Yeah, to put your work out on a giant wall. Yeah. Sorry, dude. I don't believe you. Like
so. I wish we could. I mean, we're gonna try to make a list of like legit art approved artists.
Yeah.
I wish I could make one of like these are definitely fake.
That's my thing. That's where the red spray paint comes in.
It's like this guy, and this guy.
Well, so I made a mistake. Yeah, like so. Back to Terry. He's the reason I keep coming back to this guy, Terry Hiddleston, is because he is in the area where the fakes are, but it's all his because it's a gigantic display. But we were walking back to he was like just coming to give me some tips or whatever, and we were walking back, and he was like, looking at this guy and was like, oh, this guy makes some cool stuff. He's saying hi to him. I was like, why are you talking to him? Or isn't he a fake artist? He's like, nah, man, that guy makes all this stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe I've overstepped a little bit. I think that maybe I thought some people were fakes, but they weren't fakes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't a shitload of fake people.
Sometimes you just see the wall and you get it's like, I mean, Huddleston's the best example I think we can think of. It is all very obviously him.
It's the same exact style.
It
is still 100 feet tall,
it's 100
gigantic.
feet tall. And that's not worse. It's like, don't avoid that. Like, those dudes have been working their ass off for years to get there.
It's when you recognize different styles from a distance.
Exactly.
But also, whenever you have the booth that's the size of this room, it wraps around.
Right.
You have the strobe lights going and fog machines.
So that's what I was walking by with Terry, and I was like, that guy's fucking stealing everybody's art. And he's like, nah, dude, that guy makes that shit. Yeah. So what you're saying is right, but like 75% of the time it's right. Occasionally there are guys who just spend that much money and like they really like doing this with
the fog machine and like that. That last planet we were at, it was like strobe lights and
everywhere.
Just like, what is happening? Like what has happened to just presenting your art?
Right.
There was one booth. It was legitimately. It took up like 5 or 6 booth space. It was bigger than Neil Adams' booth, and he always gets that corner where you have to like walk through the maze of tables. Yeah. It was bigger than his, and then they had a table like in the middle, and you had like a horseshoe shape, and it was just a wall of pictures, a wall of pictures, a wall of pictures. And then all the tables were covered in like shirts and towels and just all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And he had like strobe lights going, and there was lights all around the frame.
You're basically describing Planet ComicCon.
It was the biggest, most obnoxious booth.
Yeah. That guy probably made $40,000 that week.
Yeah.
But so I know it does happen with t-shirts sometimes, but I do think when they have a variety of product, usually it is just like,
a shop.
I'm a shop. Yeah.
You assume they bought the licensing for whatever.
Yeah, and that's
a different thing.
Like specifically, it's like I'm trying to front as an artist.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's
like I made these prints. No, you didn't. Right. I know that filter. I've taught my students that filter before.
Well, and see that. My first time going through a Comic-Con, I was like, oh, that's a really cool picture. And I loved all these pictures. And they were like, oh, yeah, it's only 3 for $10. And
like, that's a sign, too.
That's a great, that's a great deal. Why am I going to spend $25 on one piece when I can go spend, 10
for 3? Yeah.
So, I mean, I never bought any because I've always been poor. But, yeah, it's, you have no idea. As somebody who's not an artist who hasn't been doing this forever, you have absolutely no idea that goes on. Like that never even came into my mind. Right. As somebody who goes to these things.
Like, why would someone take the time to be a giant business? Like, it's like me and Rao sit here, put our whole lives into this idea of us as an artist so that we can put ourselves out there. Right. Like, who wants to fake that for their whole lives?
It's just a shitty thing.
Yeah.
They just identify a vacuum in the market. They're like, Planet ComicCon's here. That thing makes $100 million every year or whatever.
But then it happens on Instagram all the time.
Yeah.
I found my art on random people's pages before.
Yeah. And remember the guy who was imitating me?
Yeah. The guy literally was just like reposting Rao for like a straight month saying
it was hilarious.
Yeah.
He was like in Turkey or something. He's like post everything I'd post, he would post. And he's just like, and he's getting all these comments.
Yeah.
One of my fans or one of my followers was like, hey, I think this guy's stealing your stuff. And I confronted him, and it was like after I came at him pretty aggressively on just me text, he's like, I'm a piece of shit, man. I'm so sorry. He like instantly crumbled.
But that's real. It's like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like you as a casual follower of this thing, you wouldn't think someone would put so much effort into being the fake, but it happens, and it's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes me happy that I didn't buy anything. Yeah. But it also makes me upset that like it happens.
I mean, also though, let's not. It's nice that you're doing this, but it's not like we're being super harassed, or it's not. We're doing all right.
I'm not worried about you guys losing business. I'm worried about me being lied to.
Oh well, that's real. Yeah, you don't want to feel.
It's almost like if you went to a car dealership and they're like, oh no, this is a great car. Whenever it was just totaled and they didn't tell you,
right? Exactly.
They just changed the outside of the car.
Yeah.
They didn't fix.
You're not as upset about like helping the starving artist as much as you're upset
because
about being
I know you guys are doing well. I
We'll
see
be fine.
everybody at your booths.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We've talked about it before. Nobody's really stealing your business.
Right.
Because if you're going to buy Rau's art, you're going to buy Rau's art.
Right.
It's not like you say, well, it's between this and this. I mean,
There's a little bit of that.
You don't have,
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen.
It
on
does
a scale.
happen. It
doesn't
hurts
happen on
me.
a scale enough to where you're like, man, I really did shitty this Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it hurts me because we love to talk to our customers.
They're
And
just
a dude-
stores.
And a dude comes over to me and I'm like, cool, hey, how's the con going? You know, like I make casual conversation. Yeah, look what I picked up, and I look at it immediately. I'm like, oh,
Dude, that is just a screenshot of
damn,
Chris Evans.
yeah, like
Just splatter paint.
yeah, I know that piece, and you want to like, you can't tell that dude after he just spent $20 on his print, but you're like, cool, and then you feel bad for the guy, like. I mean, if that's cool with you, that it's just a screenshot, then because that is real. Somebody's like,
Some
I don't
people
care.
just like that.
Yeah, it just looks good. Like I'm gonna put it on my wall. I don't care who made it, but it's like, damn, like you got played, man. Like,
But also, if you just walked around, you don't realize like you're like a hub of amazing creativity. Like if you just walked a little further down, you get the same character in like a way cooler style,
way more originality, way
time
more
on it.
work. Like and that's the thing that kills me is the dude getting tricked who doesn't realize he is getting tricked.
Yeah.
Well, and that used to be me too. Is that I'd walk in, I'd see a piece here, and like it's the first 2 minutes of me being in, and I'd want to get it.
Right.
But then I was like, okay, no, I have plenty of time. I'm here all day. I'm gonna go look at every single booth.
Yeah. You should always do that.
And then
Unless you come to me first.
If it was good enough for me to remember, then I'll go back.
Yeah.
But if I can look through all day's worth of stuff, and yours is still in my head,
You're going back together.
then I'll go back again.
Yeah.
Which is also like, here's a tip for you guys conventioning: write your booth number on the business card.
That's right. Bring him back.
That's right.
I never did that until like last time.
Yeah, I think I talked you into it.
Yeah, I think so too. But I have a little niche. I'm the only guy selling like cartoon
It's true.
sports players,
Yeah.
so they kind of remembered me. But as I move on to like Magnus and the Nightmare book or whatever, I'm gonna start I'm gonna keep the sports stuff there in the background. but I'm not really
you're
gonna
that
push
guy.
it.
You gotta keep that.
I've joked about it before with you, but are you going to be one of those super aggressive people hawking books?
Well,
like
that's
where
why
you
you're
go,
gonna
you walk out of your booth and you grab people and drag them back over. Like,
That's
hey,
actually.
I have a book you're going to read.
We keep bringing up Terry
That's
Hudson.
Terry, yeah, that's his thing.
That's his thing, and he's talked to us so many times about that. He's like, dude, freaking, like, just grab the dude and be like, what's up?
Yeah.
Like,
He's
let's do
like
it like
got
that.
so
He
much
is-
energy.
Yeah.
He's like, that table's not a table. That's just your space. Get rid of the fucking table.
He doesn't. He
throws his table
He breaks
away.
down his tables every time, and he
He's like, come on in, walk in through here, let's go. He like
makes this
stands in the
open
aisle.
Space, and I love that too. Though,
It's
because-
great. He has so much energy.
Yeah, and there's a difference between like being aggressive and having energy.
Did you guys? Okay, I'm not trying to interrupt, but speaking of like breaking down the table and just having like an open space.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the person at Planet last year who had a corner booth? You guys were over here. They were like over here, and their thing was they turned superheroes and anime characters into like Japanese style art.
I don't know if I saw that.
And it was like
Like the woodblock prints, like where they were like, is that what you're talking about?
I can't remember if they were actually on like. I want to say.
I
they
mean, when you
weren't
say
on-
Japanese style, I mean, do you mean like a traditional like woodblock where you have like the characters going up the long thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, something like that. But it was like, so you had the Hulk, but he had like the samurai face paint, and he was.
Was it good? Because that sounds.
Yeah,
amazing.
it looked really awesome. But the thing that really stuck out to me is that they had like a wood floor that they brought with them. So they actually
laid down.
They were like on pallets.
Yeah, they actually laid out.
You're allowed to do whatever you want with your space.
Yeah,
Like most people do
they
the
brought
table.
like a rollout wood floor.
That's pretty awesome.
Like
What was your friend? Your old.
It was like a
that-
corner of a dance floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That old guy that we met, I can't remember what his name was. He was like,
Mike Sullivan.
he had it turned in.
Yeah,
was
he
like,
turned his sideways so people could like come into like a
his
shop.
space and
yeah.
walk around.
Yeah, you get like it's like 10 by 8 space with a table. Like it's you. You can do whatever you want with it. But it's like, I don't know, I'm a traditionalist and I like the table between me and my customer. but a lot of people do. They'll step out into the aisle and they'll just, I mean, I was at like Columbia Comic-Con and I ended up at this space that was at the door. It was like everyone was inside the conference center, and I was at the door of the conference center. I didn't sit behind my booth the whole time.
Yeah,
I was like the
you were
greeter. I was like
Terry,
literally just
yeah.
like, hey
Welcome
man,
in,
like
come
welcome
on.
to the con,
Should've
like this is my booth.
Should
Like
have started taking a money for good. It's like
Yeah, it's a $5 fee. Yeah, exactly. I felt like that guy.
But luckily, you get this free poster here.
Yeah.
You don't feel as
Oh,
much.
$10. Yeah, that's actually how much my coaster cost.
Well, there you go. You figured out that's your business plan.
Yeah.
I think you're really going to enjoy Air Capital.
I'm excited for the cap.
I think it's right up your alley. I was asking Chris when he was going to come down, and he was kind of asking about the details. And I said it's more your speed than like Planet.
Yeah.
You like all the small indie cons and stuff like that.
I'm the guy who like I pull a dude over because I've drawn the most obscure thing, and they're like, "What? You did Bay Ray Bill?" Like, and then like we're in,
And you talk for like 15 minutes.
And that's what I love.
And he buys like your original.
Yeah,
And
and I don't.
some cool stuff.
That's what I love about a con too. Like, I want to meet a dude who's the same fandom of me, who's the same like love of comics and art and just stuff, and just like talk to him for 30 minutes, and then I don't know. That's what I love about conventions. Is like meeting the people who get stoked about the same thing I do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, last year we had somebody who like they did wood burning, so they burn like pictures in. We have people who just Mod Podge like pictures on there. It's kind of crazy. There are a couple print farms.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just like a small, pretty like close knit group of people.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the small end.
A small con sometimes can. I mean, I'll net the same from a small end
Yeah.
from big, just because like
In a
that's,
day,
that's
in
my
a given
crowd.
day,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like dude comes over and sees my stuff and we get talking about like actual life and just like about what we're into, and like that's how I get a fan. Like
If you did, if Chris did some like shocker stuff for like Wichita State,
Oh,
you did like
yeah.
a Ron Baker.
Yeah. Probably sell shit load of that down there.
Yeah, you'd probably sell the shit out of that. Just hit up some like the college sports. I don't know how that works with like licensing. Can you do college?
Whatever. I don't care. We're small town.
yeah,
Okay.
they
But
always
anybody
got-
who's ever
I don't know
noticed.
I don't know how that works because they even can't have their like own shit that they can sell
Oh, is that
in
right?
college.
Anybody who's ever noticed the art that I've done, like the players or whatever, they're always like, awesome, you know? Whatever. Like certain players, like, I send them a poster and they'll like follow me on Instagram now. And they're like, oh, support this artist.
Yeah.
You get like the cousin of one of the players come and like take like screenshots of all of it, and the dude ended up texting around.
Yeah, the
send me like 5 more. Like
Yeah.
Danny Duffy, the
That's
Royals
it.
ace pitcher, his buddy he's like become a good friend of mine. He's like, yeah, dude, Duffy wants them. He wants them all or whatever, you know. And like, or Paulo Orlando is like a mid-level player for the Royals right now. He like bought a poster, has the poster, and he like shouted me out on Instagram to his like 40,000 followers.
Well, now
I was
he's
like,
not going to do it since you called him mid-level.
way to go.
He is the
I was-
best player
I was,
the Royals have.
I was giving him credit calling him middle. But I'm saying like the suing thing, like people are worried about that with the sport. It's not. A thing.
I would find that maybe a college would be more upset about it than.
They might be. I've never done college art,
It's true.
so.
You did Nebraska.
Oh yeah, you're right. Nobody gives a shit about that either. Nobody cares.
But yeah, I think if you did like a Greg Marshall, who's the coach. You did Ron Baker and a couple others. I think those things would sell like hotcakes down there.
I might just do the little shocker guy.
Or you wouldn't sell any because nobody there watches sports that comes to a conference.
So that was what we were concerned about
This
the
is
very
what-
first time we
and
ever
I told
went.
him,
Yeah.
even like,
No,
yeah,
it's-
like
I was like, I don't know if I want to go.
It's
and then
such a diverse crowd.
it is.
Most people
Yeah.
think it's just going to be a bunch of like fat virgins running around.
Well, it is, but those fat virgins sometimes are 12 and their moms are there and their dads are there and they want to buy. They're like, while their kids
Yeah.
going to try to find whatever, they're like, oh, I'll take a sports poster
Yeah.
from there.
I've like joked with them that like I am the 20 to 30 crowd.
I
and
dominate
and he
the
is
mom,
the 30 to like 40
yeah.
crowd. Like, and that's why we never compete with each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Me and my buddy were at Planet last year, and we went and sat down, ate something, and then some girl walks over like full on Furiosa,
Yeah.
like cosplay.
With the arm and everything.
Yeah, and then her boyfriend was right there, just wearing like what's the Kansas City soccer team?
Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah. So he was wearing a shirt like that, completely uninterested in anything that's going on. And like me and my friend Kent are waiting on her to like finish eating her burrito so we can get like a picture because we didn't want to get her like mid bite of a burrito. So she
I
said,
think that's more what you're describing is pretty common.
What you described to is our favorite scenario because Furios is at my table.
And
The sporting
guys
KC
are
is at Brown's table, and they're stuck because like I'm super into the conversation with her, and he's like, I don't know why I'm here. And I was like, yeah, man, check this out.
Check this out. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
like,
What's your favorite player?
so 1 out of 10 couples that are there are like that. Usually it's the dude dragging a girl around.
Yeah.
But we saw that and they're like, hey, can we get a picture?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, sure. And she did like the whole pose and everything. But while they're eating, she's like, I want to go to this. And he goes, what, really? Or something like that. And she goes, okay, I'm going to this. You can do whatever. And then like while we're taking a picture of his girlfriend, he's like all sulking in the background. I'm like, you fuck this. Like,
And that's where I roll in.
yeah,
So
dude,
we'll
your
post it.
girlfriend looks awesome right now. Support her. Don't be an asshole.
Yep.
But yeah, I think you're really gonna enjoy Air Capital.
You got to go and feel it out so that I can come next year if you enjoy it. Because I'm thinking about going. I want to take it to not the next level, but like more like I'll go spend a weekend somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, it's
like,
not like it's that far away.
right. That's what I'm
Well, I got family out there, and that's why I was like, this is perfect. I'll stay with my family, and
saying. The tables don't cost that much, like you said.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what 125 was what you paid. 150.
Did you already pay it?
yeah, I'm in. Yeah, he already advertised me and everything. I can't remember I paid actually because I was like,
It's not much. It's
it was less than KC.
Yeah.
I think it might have been 75 or something actually.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it wasn't bad at all. Because I remember when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm in.
That's great.
Now, there's going to
serious.
be this one woman there. Last year, she was wearing a leather Catwoman outfit.
All right, I'm in. No, I'm not.
You get that?
Reconsider this. She's an interesting woman. A little eccentric.
I love
She's
it.
definitely
I love it described
she's
right now.
definitely not built for a leather one-piece outfit.
This thing you're talking about happens at every con.
That's the best.
My
They're
wife
awesome.
sent me this hilarious thing a few months ago. It was like con bingo, and she like did not know how accurate it was, but it was always like sexy lady dressed up as Slave Leia, fat dudes dressed up as Slave Leia. it was like yep, that's real. Like it's like dude who shouldn't be in this costume, lady who shouldn't be in this costume, and it was like
She's also super aggressive about what she sells.
Oh,
And
she's a seller.
yeah. I think she's got books. I don't even remember. 'Cause all I try to do is get away.
personality
But she
is
like
the
pulls.
best.
She pulls you in, and like
It's in a
she's
headlock.
got like 100 bookmarks that she's like.
Oh, she
take
sells
a
bookmarks.
Take a bookmark. Everybody take a bookmark. And it's like, no.
She's like swipes in between her boobs.
It's she was at one of our local comic book stores. They had a bunch of people there for free comic book day, like artists and stuff.
Yeah.
She was also there, and I guess she wasn't getting enough like attention inside, or she was trying to get people to come in, which was cool for the comic book store.
Yeah.
But she walks out there in her Catwoman outfit, walking up and down a very busy street, like cracking a whip, like in her one-piece leather Catwoman outfit.
Oh, the joy of it.
that's the best. Oh my
Just
gosh.
and you have to appreciate that there's no shame. Like she's doing what she loves. She's being who she wants to be.
That's what it's all about. That's the thing about these things.
But
It's all just pure joy.
Yeah,
Like, it's,
there's not a thing like we've talked about this before. Conventions are the best because like even the weirdos.
everyone's
like,
super accepting.
Yeah, you're like this is not a negative atmosphere.
No, just get
this
weird.
is like come here. Like you're a weirdo if you're not dressed up.
Right, that's right.
And I love that. It's just like come into this place and be your nerd and be whoever you are. And
Yeah.
if you come into my booth, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna be casual with you. Like we're gonna get stoked about something.
Right.
That's what I love about conventions.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's slowly getting bigger and bigger. Like it's not blowing up astronomically. It's not going like super fast, but it's that slow, steady growth.
Which is like our comment to like KCCon.
Yeah.
I think so. KCCon was built by a guy who helped start Planet.
Right.
But like creative differences is a good way of putting it. I probably like split the two.
Yeah.
And I think like it's like I'll just take my crowd then. But it's like no. I mean if you're gonna start a brand new one, like build it up.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate the love for the artist, but like you can't just like
Right.
You can't just jump right.
you
off
can't
and
just jump
expect
right
to be
into the love of
huge.
it. You gotta have Momoa and you gotta have those kind of dudes, and that's what brings in. And that's why I get it. But it's like you gotta like figure out how to like balance like love of the artist for like love of the crowd. And you gotta work your way up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I mean, maybe you should have marketed it as, hey, this is going to be mostly artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then instead of focusing on getting like a movie star, focus on getting like a big comic book.
Yeah,
movie.
exactly. Right, like get some
Well, and
Fiona
they
Staples
did.
up in there or something.
They had one of the artists from the Dark Knight's Metal.
They did.
Which they probably
KC
got. Yeah, they got the least personable one. I mean,
which happens a lot, though,
Scott
right?
Snyder and Greg Capullo are like the 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
But then it's Jonathan Gallopin.
That dude, though, man.
Like, okay, so I paid for the meet and greet at Planet.
Yeah.
And he just kind of sat, like, the other two are playing it up. They're really good friends anyway. And it's not that they don't like him. I think he's a shy dude. He's introverted. And so they're like, hey, we just want to take this time. We're going to sing happy birthday to Jonathan. It's his birthday. And he goes, and he just, and like the whole crowd like sang happy birthday to him. And he was just like, and then the people
that is the unfortunate events of an artist, though.
Yeah.
And that dude blows my, like, everything he posts. I follow him on Instagram. Everything he posts is just
What's the guy's? I don't even think I know.
It's Jonathan Gallopin. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it too. But like in terms of like, and this is what I love, he has composition and he has style.
Yeah.
Like he will just do like a face floating in like a white background, and it's like it's beautiful and it's perfect.
Right.
And he has this really cool line work and stuff. I follow him hardcore, but it's like the same thing happened with me. I think it's just like an artist thing. A lot of artists who have that thing have the eccentric side to them, and it's like hard to like.
Is he the inker of the show?
He might be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
He
he's
inks with a nib, and he has a very like hard-edged like style that I love.
But what was I gonna say? Shit. I don't know.
Well, whatever.
But anyway, I remember now. Okay. So, and for as big a name as he is, you know, working on Scott Snyder's Batman, working on Dark Knight's Metal, working on like all these huge pieces of comic book history. Yeah. Like his art's not that expensive. I mean, you go to, and this is kind of a bad example because Neil Adams is like a legend in comic book art, but I mean, he's selling his original pieces for $5,000.
Oh yeah.
And then you go to this guy's booth, and he's like, yeah, we've got 100 of these prints, autographed, numbered, certificate of authenticity.
He does this.
$125.
He does a really cool thing though. He like wax seals his stuff too. Sometimes I love that. I want to like.
This guy's sick.
Yeah, I literally want to. Yeah, and he does this cool thing I've been watching lately. He like where he literally does like the weird like he's made like a wax seal of his like signature and he like prints at the bottom of it. I'm like, dude, I want to do that with.
I want to get one of the warm wax, like a stamp or whatever,
like a stamp or something. Like it's super cool. He's very like when I look at a piece of his, it is like I want to put that in a frame and I want no one's fingerprints to ever touch that thing. Like
that's dope.
Well, and that's, like I said, I was expecting, whenever I walked out, they had this big frame piece, and they were like, hey, we've only got 100 of these.
Yeah.
And at the next con, he has a different piece that he's only got 100 of. And so every con, he's got a different.
Yeah.
It's not like he says, there's 100 of these, and then at the next con, it's the exact same thing, and there's 100 more. But I was like, well, how much is it? Because, you know, I might need this. And I was expecting like 300, 350, because that's what a lot of people's original art is going for.
Yeah.
And they're like 125. I was like, oh shit, I might need that. But then I went and saw like other things, and we had to eat and shit like that.
Actually, Rau and I have talked about this before, and I think it's why what we do works so well. Originals is what I love to sell, but I don't like to put a giant price point on them, and like I am small and I get that. But like as I grow, I'm like I have a cap in my mind of like what I want my originals to be like accessible.
Yeah.
It's like it's a really cool thing to think that like people can afford my originals.
Right.
And if they can't, I've got prints.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what my model is, because I don't want to become like a print wall, but like I do love to make my prints, and I do love to have my wall behind me. But my wall is kind of like, oh, like you're a casual collector. Like here you go, $15 for a print.
Yeah. Oh,
you're like a serious collector, $30-$40. Get like a inked, because I think a lot of people don't understand how like they don't appreciate. Like I have a lot of people come and they will only buy my originals,
right?
And they'll be disappointed because like only my print is left.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I love that piece. Where's the original? I'm like, I'm sorry, I sold that already. Like, I have 2 or 3 guys that come to Planet every year, and they literally come to my table and they're like, all right, what new originals do you have?
Yeah.
I only buy originals. I want ink. I want
Right.
mess. I want fingerprints.
Yeah.
Like, I want the sloppy mess that made that thing behind you.
I've got a piece. I don't know what the guy's name is. On Instagram, he goes as Tree Beardy, and you look him up. He makes some awesome stuff. But his is like really rough, kind of gross.
Yeah.
And he doesn't only do like gross stuff. A lot of his stuff is in horror, but he'll also do like Yoda. But it's all like smudgy, and it looks like he almost finger painted it sometimes. But I have a Ghost Rider piece that he did, and talking to him, I was like, "This is amazing." It's just raw and unbridled. It's like a side profile, and you can tell he's on a motorcycle or something. Like the flames are just straight back, mouth wide open, and he did like marker for the black, and then he lined it, and he inked it, and it almost looks like an acrylic pen or something like that. It's not like a regular pen.
Yeah.
But then he like splattered it all over with just paint, just. Looked like he did that.
And I love that.
Because I was talking, I just kept saying this is an amazing piece, and he was like, "Yeah, it was one that I wasn't really happy with. I didn't think anybody would really like it. I was just messing around one night." Okay, here. There we go. All right.
Well, it's that thing of like, even if I buy another original from this guy,
Were you about to bite it?
No.
and he splatters it also, I'm never gonna get the same splatters.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the mess of like an original.
You got the keys?
Here, I got you.
Well, I can do it with the key.
Oh wait.
Chris is having a hard time.
I was tempted to open a beer without a bottle opener, but I know the way to do it. Don't you worry about it, me guys.
Ooh, that one has to start my car, so let's be careful with that
You
one.
guys keep talking. You guys keep talking.
Let's be picky about
What did I miss in the last 4 minutes?
Hey, that Jeep barely starts with the key, so let's be careful.
Fleming brought his rape Jeep into my nice neighborhood.
Which apparently is the best story ever.
Yeah.
I got here and Rau was like, there's like a Jeep of that description. It's like abducting kids right now, so I was like, great.
Yeah, middle school to high school
Yeah.
children.
And I'm like,
And he
I'll
goes-
just tell my teacher, and I'm like, oh, oops, there's my motive.
He's stalking him. But yeah, it's okay. So going back to like originals and stuff like that, Chris has stated that you are not attached at all to your original pieces.
No, not at all. Yeah, what were you guys talking about? Oh, guess Fleming's really into the originals.
Well, yeah, we were talking about buying originals versus prints, and
No, I'm more like, I think of myself as more like prolific or, no, I mean that for real. Like, I produce a lot.
right.
Like,
okay.
I go quick.
You're not prolific, as in
No, like I'm
legendary.
like, no. I mean it like literally. Like he spends a lot of time on his work. He has like nice paper, and he's like, but I'm more like, something starts out as like an anatomy study or something, and then it's like, I quickly just turn it into Iron Man. Let's make that a print. I'm done in 2 days. Let's go.
Right.
And then I'll sell that print for like $10.
Right.
Because I don't really value the product, the actual thing that I drew, as much as like the overall idea of the poster. So like I can view it, or like the Magnus book, for instance.
right.
That's a slight difference because I spent so much time on each illustration, right? But like if I'm drawing like, I don't know, a Chiefs player or something, I will definitely focus and take time on it and try to get it right.
Right.
But like when I'm done with that pencil art, like that doesn't have any value to me.
Yeah, well, obviously, like original pieces that you came up with out of your own brain would probably have more significance to you. But
Yeah, maybe.
did you save any of your original art from Magnus?
No, it's all out. Every Magnus piece I drew, that's a perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. Like I value the product of the book.
Right.
Like I have my number one, the first one that came off the printer.
Yeah.
But I don't have any of the original drawings because I don't care. Like I care in the sense that it's fun to draw, but the actual physical artifact I don't care about.
Yeah. Some people value that original art.
Well, I know that, and that's
Immensely.
why some of the tiers are like, buy a piece of original art. But I personally don't really.
Right.
I
mean, I like having the original. I don't like having the original enough to charge like $350 for it. We were talking about some people.
Oh yeah, those
Like,
guys.
Well, there's a guy. His name is Seth Groves. If you check out Seth Groves' art, sad story. He just had like a bunch of his shit stolen out of his car, like thousands of dollars worth of art equipment and original pieces. And he draws some awesome stuff. He has this Tom Hardy piece where like the Venom symbiote is like coming over his head, and you can still see like part of his face. And he sells prints, you know, for a decent price, but then like his originals are like $350. Now, it also took him 6-7 months to do a Cyborg piece.
Yeah.
Because he went in and did, you know, in the movie, it's all plated and it's like different angles and dimensions. Like he live streamed it, and he would live stream for an hour or two, and he'd get done with like a 1-inch section because he's just.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of time and effort he puts into it, obviously, like $350. If you watch the videos and you saw the process, you'd be like, yeah, you probably need to charge more.
That's a big thing about being an artist, is like trying to figure out like your time versus your like how much am I worth per hour. Like,
It's like, remember that Harvey Talbot guy, the guy who signed my Hulk thing?
Yeah.
This dude, he's like a pretty big artist. I think he does Marvel stuff. I think it's pronounced Talbot. Harvey Talbot. Anyway, he was at Planet, and instead of signing his name, he like did this super intricate like ink drawing of Hulk or whatever. And then you
like his signature is cooler than anything we've ever made.
Right. Some of his work, he's like, well, I've been working on this this Black Widow spread for about 2 years now. I'm almost done with it, and that's like for books. Like they just wait on him because he'll go in and he'll like draw like an inch's worth of work in like an hour, like doing all the details.
Yeah, it's mind blowing.
I just get so bored. Like I want to move on to the next thing.
Right. It's I got some Green Lantern comics, and they're the 2 comics that got me into Green Lantern.
Yeah.
It's from a run, like an event called Convergence in DC, which is not spoken about because it was so terrible.
So bad.
But it's supposed to be like a reboot.
Yeah.
But anyway,
The word convergence sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, they thought they had it. I think with Convergence.
If they would have done it right, it would have been epic.
It's true.
But then they DC'd it all up, and so it wasn't.
You could use that as an adverb now.
DC.
They really DC'd the shit out of it. Here's some of his pieces. You can scroll through Seth Groves' art.
See the guy we were talking about with the long drippy?
No, that's Caleb King.
That's Caleb King.
Dude, this sucks.
That Infinity Gauntlet one.
This is the one you're talking about that took forever.
Yeah. It's intense.
Yeah. And that's real, like time versus like time spent versus like how good it turned out versus like art is a weird thing, and I think it's what I love about it. It really is just like the value of each artist's art to themselves and to like their fans. It's a thing for sure.
Oh, back to the Green Lantern thing. I got Andy Parks to sign it a while back, signed both of them, and then I was waiting for the author and another one of the artists to get there to be able to see him, and they were at Air Capital last year, and so I went over and I was like, hey, can I get you guys to sign this? They're like, oh yeah, you already got Andy to do it. And so one of them signed it, and he passed it over to the other guy, and the other guy just starts like drawing all over it. He goes, you don't mind, do you? And I'm like, no, go for it.
Yeah,
it's a
awesome.
Picture of Guy Gardner arm wrestling Hercules, and so like both of their arms are right here. So he's like drawing tattoos on Guy Gardner's arm, like that. And he just had so much fun with it. And then
I love that.
while that's going on, the other guy's telling me why he fucking hates Hal Jordan, why he's the worst Green Lantern. He just got super heated about it. I'm like, oh man. But yeah, it's crazy how intense some of these guys get. That's not his creation, right?
Yeah.
He had a part in the creation of that piece, but he just got super into it.
Yeah.
There's that Cyborg.
That's pretty wild.
Well, all right.
Pretty good.
On the tone paper.
I mean, yeah.
It's alright. I prefer the Teen Titans Cyborg.
Oh,
I don't know.
Teen Titans Go.
I am mid Cyborg right now, and I'm really appreciating the design of this one right now.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time I've really put the effort into it.
You're doing a Cyborg?
Yeah. So for this piece,
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of keep it like DCU universe kind of thing.
I'm gonna give you some professional tips.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Make it.
Let me get my notepad out. Hang on.
make it as two-dimensional as possible.
Okay.
Make sure you have a very basic color scheme.
Yeah.
Yep.
No dynamic poses.
Right. You want them like straight
arms straight down.
Yeah. I mean, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to overcomplicate it with like motion and talent.
Yeah.
That's right.
My bad. I've already got like
I've
got a shoulder turn and everything going on here.
Just go stick figure. Throw that out.
Yep. Start over.
My bad. Can his eye glow?
No.
Oh.
It can be red. But it has to be
It's gotta be a flat red.
It's
exactly in the
zero glow happening.
It's gotta be Crayola red color pencil red.
All right. I'll just
you can use a crayon.
Yeah,
if you
I'll just
want.
crayon the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be precise about it, I guess you could use a color pencil, but it has to be dull.
All right.
Can't be sharpened.
I'm gonna do it. You should do a whole series like this.
That's what you guys should do. You're,
like pencil it really nice, but lining the crayons.
So what you guys should do sometime is just do art in crayons.
It's not a bad idea.
I do it. I like to. Like the big reason for my art is like I like to put it out there, but I try to do more than one charity event a year.
Yeah.
But I do this event at a community center in Gladstone every year too. It's like a superhero day for like moms and kids, and we always literally end up getting just like a stack of Crayola markers, and kids just like come to us all day like draw Superman, draw, and I'm just like got Crayola markers, and I'm just like trying to work things out, and they're like their minds are blown, and I'm like sorry, and then they're like yeah, I'm sorry, like in my head the whole time I'm just thinking sorry, but they're like
It's the funniest thing ever. Okay, so I follow Tom King, the guy who's writing Batman right now, and he goes to all these Comic-Cons, obviously, and people come up to him and they hand him a blank cover and be like, draw me something. And he's not an artist, so he just draws this really super shitty Batman. Like it is
like an N with two dots on it.
Well, it's like his head is just a square with like two points, and then you see like a stick figure Superman over here, and then on every single one of them there's like a word bubble, and it just says "I'm sorry." But I think it's just become a thing now, so everybody
wants
they want the I'm sorry drawing,
and all of them just say "I'm sorry."
That's
pretty hilarious. I love that.
Yeah. So turning into the skid, we've talked about something too. Now that you both have some original characters, doing like crossover, and you had a lot of that with Magnus. A lot of people sent in some like Magnus love.
That was so much fun. I did that. It's a variation of like I had friends do it, like who are like Fleming and a couple of other people. So what we're talking about is I finished. If anybody's still listening to this, after my Magnus book finished, I asked a bunch of my friends who are artists to do my character in their style. So there were various levels of it. I had Fleming and some other people that I know pretty well do it. Then I had people who I like really look up to on Instagram, like relatively mid-level famous people do it.
Yeah.
And some of them did it, like a lot of them did it for like free, which was awesome. Like the dude yesterday did it. Did you see my post? Chris Ember?
Awesome.
That was awesome.
He's one of my favorite. If you don't know Chris Ember, he is a guy out of London. The comic book company is called Reckless Hero. They have this show, the series called The Last Sheriff, and another one called Operation Boom.
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy's relatively famous, maybe like 50,000 followers or something. But so he did that for free because here's a little pro tip: when you get Apollo done, mail it out for free to people you love. Be like, hey, can I just get your address? I want to send you something.
Yeah.
And then they do that. And then there are another level of it, like the Huerta guy.
Huerta's
my favorite artist in the world. He's the guy with the jagged lines
Yeah.
and stuff. I paid him a commission. Like I paid him like $100 for that.
I'm saving.
But it's so fucking cool. So there were like my buddies, then some relatively famous people who did it for free, and then people I paid. Or like Anthony Wheeler is the guy out of Denver. He does the Fun Inc.
That one was super cool.
That one was awesome. I did pay him, but he actually told me I didn't have to. But I was like, no, I want to. Like he's in a very similar situation to us. He's just got like a couple of young kids or whatever he's trying to make money.
Yeah.
But he's Anthony Wheeler art. If you follow him, he does like really beautiful like calligraphy ink and stuff. And
Brush pen everything.
Brush pens everything. It's so cool. So doing that was so much fun, and like seeing all the different styles come back through. So when you finish yours, you should totally do that.
Yeah.
You'll have like.
I would love to see Apollo drawn by other people.
Like imagine Apollo. What if you paid like Jake Parker $40 to draw Apollo?
That'd be really
Wouldn't
cool.
that be rad for you?
That'd be super cool.
Yeah.
And that's like right up his alley too. Like do like a cartoony version with all the little gears and stuff.
Yeah, we we talked about it during, I think, our episode, that you guys should just do a bunch of each other, get like other artists involved who also have original characters.
Swap out.
And you guys should all just do each other's.
Yeah.
That last month, that was like draw this in your style challenge.
That's
like,
right.
That was
We
like
did
a
a lot
cool
of
thing
that.
on Instagram.
Yeah.
It was like people posted their characters and had people draw
this in their style.
It was a cool thing.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome. It's always cool to see how other people interpret your piece.
Yeah.
Because obviously you have your own interpretation of how it should or could look, and then everybody else is like, oh, well, let's try it this way.
Yeah.
I like I said, I'm saving up for Huerta to do a piece. I can't figure out what I want.
Yeah.
Huerta's like edge style is just
So crazy.
I've got-
It's so unique and
Yeah.
interesting.
I've
Did you
got
see that
a-
Clint Eastwood one he did last night?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I've got a Action Comics 1000 blank cover, and I've got a Invincible Iron Man #1 blank cover. Both I think would be super, like, in his
with
style.
edged like technology things.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Iron Man would be probably
Or-
awesome.
At the very beginning of Childish Gambino's "This Is America," get his face, or he's doing that like weird,
like,
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I was
He
watching.
probably-
I was watching that video, and I'm like, this would be perfect.
That he would do.
He would probably love that.
He'd
Yeah.
probably love it. Like
I
when he's
think-
doing the gun thing.
Yeah. Because I mean, his hair's all messed up, and he's
Yeah.
got the beard, and I think it just lend itself to
Oh
his
yeah,
style.
he'd probably do that for you for a discount.
If you're listening, just go ahead and do it, and I'll buy a print.
Yeah.
Just giving out ideas right now. But yeah, it's a journey for all of these things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, man, it's been fun though. We're just getting started.
My wife was just commenting on it. She's like, "Isn't it weird? We're driving up here from Wichita." She goes, "Isn't it weird that the only reason we're driving up here is because you met two dudes at ComicCon buying their stuff?"
That's right.
Yeah, it is
Yep.
kind of weird.
And that's like that's the thing I love. It's like you never know you never know which fan becomes a friend, and
Yeah.
like, it's just cool. Like when
Yeah.
like, that
And
kind
you
of
weren't even at your booth, Chris.
The
The
first
first
time
I went, we sat and stared at your booth because we were looking at all the sports stuff.
the first time you came was not when I let you in.
Nope. How would I have met you before that?
I thought for
I
some
didn't just
reason-
like stumble upon you on Instagram.
I thought you did because you asked for the Molina. Did we meet in person
Yeah.
at the thing? Yeah,
So you weren't at your booth when it was just sports stuff,
you're right.
and then I grabbed your card, and then whenever I got home, I did what I always do, and I just
Okay, so we didn't actually meet. That
Right.
way. Okay.
I was probably watching your booth.
yeah, you weren't there, and we looked at all of it, and we also commented on whether it was too soon for you to have that was it Ventura piece?
Yeah.
We're like, ooh, that just happened.
Well, yeah.
And we saw it everywhere.
I gotta
like,
make money.
Everybody's got Ventura pieces. So we're like, is that okay?
Is that weird? Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, his mom has my drawing, so
yeah.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, well, once I heard the backstory that you were mid-draw, like of
Right.
him anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not. It
Well, because he was
seems,
supposed to be the ace of our staff, you know, but he died.
yeah, it seems less of you trying to make money off of the
Yeah.
tragedy.
I remember that was
Once you
happening.
I mean, I'm cool with it.
As like a guy who doesn't know sports, I like remember that because like, is that like a thing? And you're like, yeah, it's a thing. And I was like, oh man, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you weren't there.
Yeah.
I grabbed your card. I don't even remember you. So
That would have been if that was the first year, he wasn't even near me. He was way off.
okay,
That first year he was behind. You were behind me. Remember that?
No, I'm
Oh,
talking-
Planet. Yeah, you were at the
We
entrance.
were, like,
and
different
yeah.
sides.
I was like 1,000. You were like 100.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So grabbed your card, walked away, and then a little while later, I contacted Chris about doing a Yachty piece.
That's right.
Which is still, I hang it up at school. Like I hang it up.
That's probably the best likeness I've ever done. Like it looks like him. Like that's my weakness. Like I'll draw the fun, cool character, but then when I do the face, it doesn't quite work. But
Yeah.
the Yachty one looks.
That's
Actually
been a thing that we've been like forever. You've been like, you want a style, but you want to like find a likeness
Yeah,
at the same
yeah.
time. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when we first, both of us, when we first started, it was like people's pets and like family portraits.
Bolton asked me last night as she was walking out. She was like, "Will you draw my dog?" Yeah, we've
She
gone full.
has no idea
We've gone full
about the
circle.
history of that.
You should draw her dog being murdered by Magnus.
Like the amount of times that we've drawn like a cat or a dog for somebody, never again. Like that's like when you're getting started, you don't know what you do, so like you're like, I'll do commissions, and people are
Whatever
like,
you want.
yeah,
Just
whatever
let
you
me know.
want, and you just get all
That
the
should be
stuff.
anything.
dude.
If somebody asks you for a stupid commission,
It's just Magnus killing the
just
thing.
have Magnus killing it brutally.
Wearing the skin of
The dog's pelt is on his head. There you go. See him giving you ideas.
That's it.
And then you can do with Apollo, just have that be like the skin suit that they wear to cover up the machines.
There you go.
Does Apollo do stuff? Does he have like a superpower?
Just stay tuned.
Okay.
Let me just say I'm a fan of the samurai.
Oh, so he's a sword warrior guy?
The first issue is about sort of like how he becomes that person.
Okay. Trained ninja.
Ish. Whoa. I don't want to be that guy, but ninja and samurai, let's not confuse the two.
Yeah, don't
right.
be an idiot.
You're right. I'm so sorry.
Well, let's be culturally sensitive.
For all of our Japanese listeners who have listened for 35 hours.
The ones that hung in there just for this payoff. They probably tuned in hoping, man, I wish he says something offensive so we can...
You could probably say something super offensive right now and not bring me.
Never.
Probably.
It's about the time I'm done. Like Elliot's woken up by now, and I don't get to see this part of the podcast of any podcast I ever listen to.
See, I listen to it when I'm in the car.
So do I.
I just put it on, set the phone down, and I just listen to it. And then whenever I get out, I pause it and I pick it up.
I mow to podcasts.
Me too.
Smartwatch. Mm-hmm. That's the best ever.
Speaking of that, I need to go mow.
Alright. Well, let's wrap it up then. So, I'm Ace Knuckles. I have Comic Den 316 on Instagram, Facebook, The Comic Den on YouTube. I'm probably going to put this episode out here pretty soon, so since you've already listened to it, it's obviously already out. It's
real.
I mean,
I always love those comments and podcasts of like, what month is this? When will this be? Like,
you're listening to this at the exact moment you're listening to this. Thank you for listening.
I'm trying to put out more episodes, so if you have any suggestions on comic books I should read, comic books I should cover, if you'd like to be part of an episode, we'll try to figure that out. I've got some episodes coming down the road pretty soon, I hope. David Fleming.
I'm excited to take Volume 2 of Inglourious Bastards home and
Not Inglourious Bastards.
Southern Bastards.
He's drunk, everybody.
Southern Bastards.
Yeah, I'm David Fleming, Art of Mr. Fleming, or Mr. David Fleming. That's where you'll find me everywhere. So Art of Mr. Fleming on Instagram and Mr. David Fleming on Facebook. And then I'd Rather Be Drawing. You heard me talk about Green a lot during this episode. That's Scott O. Green. He's my partner. I'd Rather Be Drawing.com, and I'd Rather Be Drawing is our YouTube channel as well. And we do every Sunday 9 o'clock podcast.
And I'm so famous, you'll probably find me anyway, so no big deal.
All right. You don't want to plug anything?
Whatever.
All right.
Chris Rau, find me on Facebook.
You can find Chris Rau at 4177. All right. Later, bitches.
See ya.